Hey folks, welcome wherever you're listening from. My name is Kalu Aja, and this is a Money Space with me. We're here every Sunday, 8 p.m. West African time, and we're talking personal finance, investing, and of course the economy. And the whole idea is to learn how do the money topics of the day affect our wallet. So this is like an open forum weekend where we're taking questions. We did the same thing last weekend on Saturday last week, where we took questions from everyone just so we could learn. For the month of January, we've been trying to pursue this idea of talking to the experts, right? Where are they investing? So we brought a stockbroker in. He's giving us an overview of his asset allocation, where he's going to put his money, stocks, bonds, even gold and crypto. We brought him in. Next week, we hope to bring in another stockbroker. We also hope to bring in a guy from the real estate and then a guy from fixed income, so that when you listen all through January and perhaps just first, second week in February, you get an idea of where the opportunities are, not just to invest, but also to protect what you already have. So I want to give you a 360 view on how investments, asset allocation in Nigeria are all set up, so that way you can have a better sense of it. So this is a space where you essentially run the room, right? So if you have a question or a DM, just request for the mic, right? And I can give it to you. Ifunaya was the first person to hop into the space. Request for the mic, or otherwise, I'm just going to just give it to you, and then you can go ahead and ask a question. But what I wanted to just start off with, right, was talk about the Nigerian economy, just to give us an overview of what's going on in the Nigerian economy, right? The issue right now, as everyone knows, is that the dollar, the exchange rate dynamics in Nigeria are a bit we still have that exchange rate dynamics where we have very, very high demand for the US dollar and not so high supply, right, of the US dollar. So what has that led to? That has led to in economics 101, when you have high demand for something without corresponding supply, that of course means that the price of what's in demand is going to go up. So we've seen that the dollar has gone really, really has skyrocketed with the exchange rate. And, everyone's asking, where will it get to and all that? I mean, it's a simple answer. There's nothing complex about it. It's not even economics, right? It's very, very simple. If Nigeria does not get an inflow of dollars, when I mean inflow of dollars, I mean inflow of dollars into the Central Bank of Nigeria, the official inflow, then of course you're going to have the dollar exchange rate going north, i.e. it's going to keep on widening, right? Because it's an issue of supply. No dollars in the CBN, then the price that you pay per $1 is going to keep on going up. Remember, we're not talking about the inflow into the crypto, the P2P, or the money you have in your pocket when you fly from, say, Atlanta to Nigeria. We're talking about the dollars that flow into Nigeria, either through the official means, remittances, capital importation, exports, debt, all that stuff. The official inflow is what we're talking about. It's not enough. Nigeria isn't getting enough. The main culprit, of course, is the oil sales in Nigeria. It's down. We're at about 1.3 to 1.5 in terms of oil sales. So as long as oil sales are down, the Naira cannot rise. The Naira is a derivative of Brent crude. And if you're not exporting enough Brent crude, there is no way your currency is going to have enough value. Why oil? Because oil is about 80% or even more of our export earnings. We've been talking diversification for a long time. But the reality is that what we make from non-oil is a pittance. We're not making $1 billion from any non-oil export. Cocoa, whatever. It's not up to $1 billion. No. Solid minerals in Nigeria is less than 10 billion naira. The last time I looked per quarter. This is the gold, iron ore, whatever it is. Not up to 10 billion in a quarter. So, I mean, you can throw lots of numbers around. If we were exporting Burna Boy and Wizkid, and we're getting their remittances from their shows in London and Atlanta, they would make more money than cocoa and soybeans. That's Burna Boy and Wizkid and Rema and the rest. They will make more money for Nigeria. And this is the problem. I'm not saying you should go tax them, but the way Burna Boy makes his money, it doesn't officially flow to Nigeria. He makes money abroad, he stays abroad. It's his money. You can't force him to bring it in. But the point is this. as long as you don't export, you can have a strong currency. C'est fini. There's no argument there, right? So we can move on to other stuff. Look at the whole economy of Nigeria. There's not one macroeconomic indices that you can point to and say it's improving apart from the stock market. So if you look at unemployment, you look at GDP growth, you look at inflation, which are the purchasing managers index, if you look at it all up, you can't really see any traction in the positive direction apart from the stock market. So what's going on? I mean, if I bring in $1,000, that's almost $1 million. I can buy Nigerian stocks. It's cheaper. Why then, Kalu, are Nigerian cocoa not being exported? If I can bring in $1,000 and buy Nigerian stocks, why can't I do the same with cocoa? Because of the infrastructure. I can, on this phone, log into a Nigerian app and buy UBA or Zenith Bank. Simple. I fund my account, I buy, and I move on. And maybe I'm in China or Atlanta. I can do that. There is no way for me to log in and buy cocoa and move on. Even if there was a way to do it, the infrastructure to get the cocoa from the farms to the export terminals is still weak. You guys see pictures all the time of trucks broken down on the roads and all that. So it's still a weak infrastructure. We don't export. So ships come in here with imports and they leave empty. So we've got to go to the ground and fix most of the problems on the ground. If we can start to allow folks not just to buy the cocoa, but to allow the cocoa go from the fields in Oyo, in Osun and all that out through the ports and be exported, then export revenues rise. So we can't, the point I'm making, we can't bellyache over the value of the naira if there are no exports. And exports have to do with infrastructure. It's easier to export financial services because you just click a button. You've bought your dollars. So that's capital importation is easier. That's why the stock market is booming. Folks abroad can take $1,000, it becomes ₦1 million naira and buy UBA, buy Zenith. But you can't do the same thing for crude oil. I'm not saying you can't, but the infrastructure is not as organized or set up for you to export rice from Kebbi through Lagos. It's not set up that way. There are bandits, there are bad roads, there's no railway. And folks, that is where we are right now. So I'm not going to talk too much. Let me hop into my favorite medium, DMs, because I know lots of people are shy. They like to ask questions online, but yeah, if you have a question, go for it. I already have my DMs here. Let me read the first one. Yes, Kalu, thank you very much for, let me just go straight to the question. I am interested in the Nigerian stocks. Which one would you advise I buy? I am about 30 years old. I have moved to Canada and I would like to build a portfolio back home in Nigeria. Okay, great. Now it's very difficult, like to give you a recommendation on what you should buy. It's like you go to a car company and you tell the car salesman, which car should I buy? He really can't help you. You have to give him more information. You got to say, hey, I want to take cement from Lagos to Kano. Which car should I buy? And it says, oh, if you're going to carry cement, you need a trailer, right? Or if you say, I want to go on a date with my girlfriend, we're going to go to Victoria Island and we're going to go to a restaurant, just I and my girlfriend. Then it's going to say, oh, you guys want to go on a date together? I think you guys should buy a sports car. You get the point I'm making. You have got to tell the person what you want to do with that investment or what is your objective. Then we can talk about maybe you should look at this or look at this. But I can read, if you can answer real quick, I can give you the answer right now, right? You're 30 years old, you're away in Canada, that means you're not going to, like, you don't have the time to come back and check it all up. I would advise, not advice, right? I'm just giving, this is all educational. I'm not giving you guys financial advice. Everything I say here is educational. Do your own research. Talk to your own broker about it before you invest it. But I would say if your objective is just to build an investment base here in Nigeria, look at the companies that are the largest cap companies. Why? Because those guys seem to have the means to withstand the shocks in Nigeria. And Nigeria is a country that has a lot of economic shocks. So the point is this: a larger bank with larger reserves will do better than a smaller bank with smaller reserves in Nigeria, simply because the larger bank has got more reserves to absorb crisis. So when there's no currency, when there's no power, the larger bank can spend more. It can spend its way out of crisis. This is not even talking about the productivity per se. So I would say don't go for the quote unquote small caps in Nigeria if you don't want the risk. Go for the large caps. Go for the companies that have brands in Nigeria that people would always buy. So your banking is always there. People always buy bank shares, right? People will always eat. So Presco, Okumo, all that kind of stuff. So that's, if you build a good way for you to build that portfolio, look at what's called the premium board on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, or even the pensions board on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. These are companies that PFAs, the pension fund administrators, buy. So the PFAs are buying those companies. They are the PFAs that are saying we trust these companies to be less risky. So that could be a pointer for you to be able to copy them, right? So you don't want to reinvent the wheel. If PFAs are buying, that could be a way for you to look at what the PFAs are buying and then buy with the PFAs, because PFAs are saying these are quote unquote safer companies in Nigeria to buy. And that's how you want to go. If you answer and give me more specifics, like how long do you want to keep your money in, I could get more specific. Last week we talked a lot about ETFs because they are cheaper for you and they allow you to diversify. And Nigeria has a lot of ETFs as well. So it's something that you want to take into account. But if you give me more information, I can answer. Hi, Olumide. Welcome. So go back to DMs. Can you talk more about what is this? Can you talk more about investing in dollar in Nigeria? Yes, I can. And lots of folks have got dollars. So the question here is asking me, he has dollars. Hey, I have dollars in Nigeria. Should I put a DOM account or should I put it in, where should I put my dollars in Nigeria? I mean, it's very simple and very, very simple. If you have dollars in Nigeria and you want to keep it in the bank, usually put in a domiciliary account. You want to find out from a bank if they're going to pay you interest on that domiciliary account in dollars. If they're not going to pay you interest, don't put it there. Rather, go put it in a dollar fund. We have lots of banks in Nigeria that offer dollar funds, which means you have to invest in dollar and they pay you dividends in dollar. I can give you a few banks. We have Optimus by AfriInvest. I think the MD was here 2 weeks ago. Optimus by AfriInvest. We have the FCMB dollar fund. Those are just two I'm quoting for you guys. So the Optimus, the FCMB. I'm going to put it up. Perhaps I will just tweet the name so you can just go on that tweet and you can follow up with them. Those are the two that I know of. There are many, and as long as they are registered by the CBN and SEC, I think they're okay. Because when you invest your dollar in those funds, you're getting exposure to the dollar. You get the returns. It's also in a bank. So instead of living in a bank's vault in DOM account, you might as well get revenues by buying a dollar fund. I'm just giving you two: Optimus and just AfriInvest and FCMB dollar fund. So there are two that I know of that I can ask you guys to take a peek at, and I think you would find those would give you a better return on your money. Reef, how you doing? Welcome to the party, Reef. You got a question? Go ahead. Reef, going once? Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, how's it going?
Very, very well, Reef. What's happening? Where are you calling from?
I'm coming from Minnesota, United States.
Cold Minnesota. What's happening, bro? Why are you in the Nigerian space? What's happening?
I just was going through spaces and saw that you're hosting this one on personal finance. I was just kind of curious to hear what the space is all about.
Excellent. You got a question? You got a contribution? What's on your mind?
Sure. I suppose we're focused in real estate, so if you want me to speak on any of that, I could, or I could pose a question.
Go for it.
Sure. I guess I'll just speak a little briefly about real estate. This is kind of a U.S.-focused view, but we're seeing some of these trends globally, so you can kind of break it into two different sort of modes. There's residential real estate, and then there's commercial. And both markets have been moving in a positive direction over the last couple of years in terms of price or appreciation. But we're starting to see more of a pullback as of late. You're seeing that in the United States and Canada, Australia, throughout Europe, and any other countries, generally speaking, that have seen home value appreciation. So on the commercial side, what you've been seeing sharp declines in office space. The main thing for that is a lot of people started working from home during COVID, and then the return to office just wasn't as sharp. So
yeah, good call out there. What about rates? Are rates having an impact? I know the Fed has brought down rates. Is that having an impact on the commercial and also residential side? What do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. Rates are huge when it comes to real estate. If you're thinking about, almost always you're going to leverage money, so you're going to borrow to purchase a property. It depends on property, but how rates can affect it is, being how rates have gone up, a lot of the debt that needs to be refinanced, or if you're looking to take a loan, it gets a lot more expensive. So if you look at your interest payments, I mean, if you go from 2.5% to a 5% rate, your interest expenses. So
that's huge. So because the way I'm looking at it, what some Nigerians, we have a fund in Nigeria, right? I think it's Rise or so. They allow you to invest from Nigeria into a fund, and then they buy properties abroad for you. So it's a way for Nigerians to get an exposure to the U.S. markets for the dividend that come from real estate, just to diversify that holding. So real estate properties in America, like you said, huge market in terms of 10-year returns, have done first or second in terms of returns, rental returns across the world. U.S. Property via REITs, getting exposure through ETFs, have done pretty well. So I like that rates are coming down. That gives us over here with a weaker currency, right, the ability to buy into the dollar and then get exposure to the US dollars, to US market. I like that a lot. Like I said, commercial property, I invest through ETFs. I've got this ARR and ARI. So that's called Apollo. And I do the residential and the commercial. And I noticed the commercial side has been giving me losses. The residential side has been doing very, very well. So it just tells you exactly what you say, Reef.
Yeah, and that's a great point for anyone listening right now. Kind of to touch on what you're saying, investing in those REITs or real estate ETFs. Those are great products because you don't have to deal with the hassle of getting financing or managing the property or working on construction. So, if you're ever looking for exposure to real estate, I would say without jumping into it, the second best thing is REITs or real estate ETFs.
Yeah. I think it's VNQ. That's if I'm right. That's the Vanguard ETF for property. So if you just want to get exposure, let me make sure that's correct. If you want to get exposure to property in the US and you do Vanguard VNQ, I'm just going to make sure that's correct. You get an exposure to US REITs. That's from Vanguard. So that's massive because you just buy it here. Yeah, VNQ. So you just do VNQ, that's the ETF for its very, very low expense ratio because it's Vanguard. That's why I like it. So you don't have to spend a lot to get that exposure. So if you're looking to expand, diversify at a very, very cheap price, you're exposed to US markets through real estate, I use VNQ simply because the expense rate is 0.12, very, very low.
You just touched on the other thing that I was going to mention, exactly what he's saying. Just be sure to always check expense ratios. If you got anything over 1%, you're probably getting overcharged. And I think you had said 0.12%. I mean, that's great. Yep,
exactly. So that works for me. I mean, it's property. You invest, you diversify, you get your dollar returns. You can do it from Nigeria. I mean, with last week we talked about the apps in Nigeria. I think there's Cowrywise. There's Bamboo. These two guys are registered by Nigerian SEC. So you can sit in Nigeria, buy Naira, put in those apps, convert to dollars, and invest abroad. Diversify that holdings. 2024 is a year for diversification. You don't want to be stuck in one currency or one geolocation or even one strategy. You want to spread out those bets to reduce the exposure to shocks. And so this gives you a good way to do it. ETFs and all that. So, Reef, appreciate you. Hang in there. We might call you back. How you keeping warm, man? It's you guys have a cold front coming, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely it's pretty chilly. It's been it's probably, well, speaking in terms of Fahrenheit, it's probably been about 0 degrees Fahrenheit. So, well,
if you ever want to land with 24/7 sunlight, great food, great people, Nigeria, look us up.
Oh, I would love to travel.
Yeah.
So you're from Nigeria?
I'm from Nigeria, yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'd love to travel. Yeah, I'm a little early on in my career, but that's something that I'd love to do throughout Europe, Africa, and Asia. I think it'd be so cool just to meet people from different cultures.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think it'd be great.
But let me ask you a question. Would you invest in a Nigerian bond? If someone came to you and said, hey, Nigerian bonds are going for like 8% dollar. So if you bought a Nigerian bond for 30 years, the Nigerian government is going to pay you 8% guaranteed by crude oil.
In dollars?
In dollars, 8%, 30 years. You can look it up. Nigerian is a euro bond. So if you Google Nigerian euro bonds, 30-year euro bonds, is 8.5, 30 years. Would you invest in that?
Wow. Well, a few things to consider. First off, I mean that's a great rate, and especially being paid in dollars. I've learned a little bit about euro bonds, and being paid in dollars is great. It's a strong currency, and in terms of return, I mean, if you're looking to diversify your portfolio, I mean, an 8.5% bond yield over 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard. You wouldn't want to probably do your whole portfolio, but it could be a great component for a stable portfolio, especially times of downturns. So, without knowing any of the specifics, I would say that sounds it's a great return.
Let me give you more paperwork, right? So the 8.5 is the coupon. The yield right now is 15%. 1.5.
Wow.
Yeah, dollar. I mean, just Google it. Nigerian 30-year bonds. It's in dollars. It's backed up by crude oil sales. It's a 15% yield, which means that the price has fallen. Hence, if you bought at the falling price and at the fixed yield of 8.5, you're going to get 15.27. Would that interest you? If someone how would you do your research? Just how would you research this? What would you do first if someone gave you a 15% return on Nigerian bond? Where's your first go-to? I mean, you know nothing about Nigeria. What would you do?
Yeah, so I suppose one of my first questions would be, so is this bond funded by the Nigerian government?
Yes, it's issued by the Nigerian federal government. It's issued outside Nigeria, hence a euro bond. So it's not issued in Nigeria. If you buy it, you get settled by maybe State Street or so. It's issued outside Nigeria. Yeah, so Eurobond. But it's guaranteed full faith and, of course, the dollar revenues of Nigeria. Well, Nigeria has never defaulted on a securitized bond, but other African countries have. So there's a bit of risk there that, I get that. But I just want to know your thought process, how you would approach this. What would you do first if you got this offer? Would you Google it, or who would you call?
Yeah, so the first thing I would do is, I guess a little context is, working in finance, this all makes sense to me, but if any of these concepts are a little unfamiliar to anyone listening, I would look into kind of how bonds operate, and then for government bonds, that's great to hear that Nigeria has never defaulted, so that's a huge plus. The assumption is that the bond would always be worth something, and they'll continue to make their payments. A notable country that did default, this was back in 2010, 2012, somewhere in there. Greece defaulted on their payments, and they need to get bailed out. So that would be your main concern. But rather for Greece, you'd look at Nigeria. So if I was interested in purchasing this bond, I would probably do a little bit of research on the debt that the country of Nigeria has in order to see if they could, support it. I mean, notably though, if you look at it depends which country in Africa you're talking about, but a lot of African countries have a lot less debt than many European countries, as well as the United States. And so that's great, because then being able to service that debt, make your principal payments, these bond payments, is usually more accessible. And so if you feel like Nigeria is in a position to be able to make their debt payments, then a high bond yield is super attractive. I mean, like you were saying, if the bonds are discounted and you're getting a 15% return, as long as the Nigerian government is able to make payments, then
you can retire, right? I mean, the spread between the United States, the spread is about 1075 basis points. The spread between the US bond and the Nigerian bond is 1075. This is basis points I'm talking about. 1075 basis points. So you can buy this sucker and go retire in Florida with a pina colada and do nothing. Right.
Yeah, and I get away from this Minnesota weather.
Exactly, bro. That's why I'm pushing you there. So tell your friends, man, if they want to buy Nigerian bonds, hey, hit it up. It's I mean, do your due diligence. I tried to ask you because I want to know how you would approach it. Because if I never heard about Turkestan and someone told me Turkestan had bonds for 40%, I would pause and try to and you answer the right questions. Was it? Can we pay? What's the default rate? Things like that. So that's I just want to get your perspective as a foreigner, how you would look at these things. But yeah, well said. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's definitely what I would look at, and I suppose I'll drop down. But
sorry, no worries.
Yeah, thanks for chatting with me. And
yep.
I suppose if you're interested in real estate and U.S.-based real estate, that's kind of our focus right now. Feel free to check out our profile. But thanks for having us.
Yeah, sure. DM me and all that. We'll set it up. DM me. Let's just set it up. Let's do something. Yeah. All right.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, super. Hey, Kenny, welcome to the party. What's happening, man?
What's up, Carlo?
I did.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Sorry, first, thank you for what you are doing for your many effort you are doing in that country. Okay, Tolu Ogunlesi can't be that degenerate. I know this is
no politics. No politics.
About Nigeria right now. So I just want to ask you a question. When Tinubu and his cohort.
No politics. I want to.
No, it's not politics. It's policy. Do you think removing subsidy was in haste? Would they have tackled food inflation first?
Interesting question. So you're asking two questions in one. You're asking, should they have taken away fuel subsidy and should they have tackled food inflation first?
Yes, I believe the subsidy needs to be removed. But the timing is now coming into question.
Okay.
You understand the gist now, right?
I understand. So let me see if I can take a question down. So there was no choice. When Tinubu became president in May 29th, there was no choice. It's not as if he had a choice to remove subsidy or not remove subsidy. He had to remove subsidy because he had no money to pay the subsidy or to run Nigeria without the subsidy. People forget that Buhari, the past president, printed 23 trillion. What was going on? Nigeria was essentially broke under Buhari, as in we had no revenues. Because we were paying subsidy on imported PMS and subsidy on dollar. Those two revenues don't show up on our budget, but they take away all the revenues. Listen to what I'm saying. They take away 100% of the total revenues Nigeria was making. The CBN governor said he had not received any remittances from the NNPC for the sale of crude oil. If you say he's lying, JP Morgan is where Nigeria banks her crude oil sales. JP Morgan wrote to her investors that Nigeria was the only country that, with the rise of crude oil prices following the Russian-Ukraine war, had not increased deposits or made any deposit to JP Morgan. So there was no money. Buhari simply was printing naira from the Central Bank of Nigeria to pay salaries and to run the government. That's where that 23 trillion went to. So when Tinubu became president, he had no choice. It's not like he could have continued to pay it. He had to stop it. That's why the very, very first thing he did was to say it. Ad-lib, subsidy is gone. To establish that prices are no longer gone. Food inflation is a different matter, right? Food inflation, of course, you're speaking about the rise in prices of food. Why is food rising? Nigerians have very, very high harvests. We produce enough food in Nigeria to feed Nigerians. So what's the problem? There is no infrastructure to get that food from, the markets to the cities, from the fields to the cities where it's eaten. Poor infrastructure, bandits. So you can't fix food inflation by economic means. You fix food inflation by military. You've got to send the security forces into those areas to establish peace so that the productivity that you would get from the roads, from the rails can then happen. So again, go back. It's not, food inflation in Nigeria is not going to be fixed by the Central Bank of Nigeria. They can't do it. And food is 51% of inflation in Nigeria. What this means is that if we do not fix the banditry in Nigeria, Nigeria cannot fix inflation. So if you notice, Tinubu put the military as part of an economic council, something he did. Olunde can help me out here. He did something where he put the military as part of the economic front. I forget what they did, right? And maybe they had seen that as well. So it's got to be an operation to go to the food areas. You see what's happening in Nigeria. People are being killed, so farmers can't farm. If farmers can't farm, the output of food falls. If the output of food falls, then the cost of food goes up. Same with the roads. If roads, you cannot get food from the fields to the cities, the cost of food goes up, and that's food inflation. So food inflation is something that you need about a year, serious military intervention to take the guys off the place so that you can then get cheaper food. It's not going to do monetary means anymore. It's more now a military internal security operation to get those guys out so that the productivity, so that CBN's reforms can work. So, but fuel subsidy, Tinubu had no choice. It had to go. Nigeria cannot afford anything imported. Look at my words. Nigerians cannot afford anything imported. If PMS is imported, Nigerians can't afford it. So we're subsidizing it. So it had to go. We have to face the reality of it. For food inflation, it's more of a security thing. Kenny, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome, bro. Thanks so much, yeah? Emmanuel, you've got the floor. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, Mr. Kalu, good evening.
Hey,
thank you so much for having this space. I think this is the third time I'm attending and it's been really insightful.
Thank you, sir.
Yes. So my question goes like this. Recently, we learned that Central Bank of Nigeria will be relocating their headquarters to Lagos as well as FAAN. So I'm wondering, from your own opinion, what do you think will be the opportunities that a typical Lagosian can probably maximize the relocation of these headquarters? At least for one, I know the insecurity in Abuja has been on the rise. So there will likely be the fact that if those two government parastatals relocate to Lagos, then it's very possible real estate prices in Abuja might drop. I'm just thinking out loud. But other than that, what are the opportunities for a typical Lagosian or for a Nigerian who wants to do something in Lagos and capitalize on the fact that those two bodies are coming to Lagos?
I don't want to be a party pooper. But look at it this way. The CBN never left Lagos. They've always been in Lagos, right? And FAN has always been in Lagos. If they come back to Lagos, it will be a net negative for you in Lagos. Why? Because your house rent will go up. Because now you're bringing in people that can afford to pay rent. CBN workers can afford to pay rent. They are going to come and compete with you in Lagos. Same way they're going to compete with you for food, for parking space, to go from Ikeja to Third Mainland, Lekki and all that. They will compete with you and they have money. So across the board, the reason why Abuja was created, remember, was to decongest Lagos. Abuja was conceived under Muritala Mohammed. How many years ago? Why? Because the planners had seen that Lagos will be congested going forward. I don't think they allow it anymore. There used to be a building in Lagos, the UAC building. If you go to that UAC building, you see the pictures of Lagos before they built the bridges. When Nigeria built the flyovers, there were no cars in Lagos. The car volume was very, very low in Lagos. But the planners had seen that in 20 years' time, Nigeria would be overrun with cars in Lagos. So they built flyover bridges. When they built flyovers, many countries in Europe had not seen flyover bridges in Lagos. When Lagos built their flyover bridges, it was a brand new concept to build a flyover over a road. When we build them, if you go from Apapa to maybe Yaba, do you know how many flyovers are within that space? with no cars. So that was forward planning. But since then, Nigeria has not invested like that ever. You hear one new road bypass is built. You hear one new bridge built. This guy is built in about 5 years. Look, go from Yaba, Apapa to Yaba. Count the flyovers you see there. Count them. They were built when? Just maybe 5 years, right? So now Lagos in a few years' time will be unpassable without BRT and subway. It will be unpassable. It's not a bad thing. Los Angeles is unpassable. If you look at the traffic in Los Angeles or even Seattle or New York, it's unpassable. So New York has got a subway. In a few years, you cannot go into your car, whether you wake up by 3 a.m. or by 1 a.m. and get to the island on that terminal bridge from Ikeja. You can't, because there are just too many cars. So I'm not sure of the thinking of the rationale to bring back people to Lagos. What about Calabar? What about Abeokuta? What about Kwara? Are we saying we don't have a space we can go to? Because when you take CBN, imagine what will happen to Kwara State if you take CBN to Kwara State. That department that you bring to Lagos to Kwara. One, you make Kwara people richer. So your question should be, what are the opportunities maybe in a Kwara or an Oyo or an Eboyi if they took that CBN to that place, not to Lagos? It's like in America, you say you are taking a building from Washington, D.C. to New York. Doesn't make any sense. It's already congested. Lagos today is already congested, and you're bringing CBN and FAN back. I don't think that is wise. Abeokuta is a better choice if you want to be within the axis. We have technology. We don't have to have physically be in Lagos. Why can't they put in VS80, one high-tech thing that they will be in Kano, but they'll be talking to everybody? Do they have to physically be in an office to work? The CBN has to be physically in an office to work? I'm not sure, Emmanuel. So that's my take on that.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome, bro.
But Mr. Kalu, truth is, you've spoken well. You've spoken very well. And there are lots of, should I say, downsides to bringing CBN to Lagos. However, in this case, I think we don't have a choice. So I'm just trying to be optimistic here. What do you think? What are the upsides to it? I've just told
you. If you have malaria, what are the upside? Hold on. If you have malaria, what's the upside? You rest in bed and you watch TV. That's an upside. The downside is that you're getting sick. There's always an upside, but we're looking at the net benefit. You don't take something into Lagos anymore. It's already congested. The whole idea of Abuja was to decongest Lagos. So if you have to take it out of Abuja, Calabar, Abeokuta, Plateau, there are many cities. Nigeria has 36 states. Why back to Lagos? This is the point I'm making. Whether we have a choice or don't have a choice, it's going to be net negative for the Lagosians, I'm telling you. Because the CBN guys have money. So your rent is going to go up because a CBN worker can afford higher rent than you. That's the point I'm making. So net benefits, we can be nice here and do motivational and say, oh, it's going to be sell more and more to CBN workers and make money. That's nonsense. The point is that it's going to be net negative for you. Lagos State government will make more payee returns. That's a positive. That's for Lagos State. But are you saying you can sell your goods? Is there a place you can go to CBN and say you want to market CBN people directly that you're not doing now? What's be the difference? Like, are you saying maybe they'll have CBN cooperative? Right now, why are you not in CBN cooperative? It's not to do with their location. That's the point I'm making. So it's an overblown thing to say we can get presence. If I was the government, I would take the CBN to Abeokuta or to Oyo or to Jos or to Ebonyi, a state that really would impact from the federal government spending money in that location. When CBN goes to Ebonyi, what would you think will happen? People will have to go and build house in Ebonyi for them. Roads will have to be built. Security will have to be built. So police will have to move over there. So you now build up Nigeria. This concept of building Lagos and Abuja is where we are today. In the situation we have today. Any city in America, where do we register companies in Nigeria? Delaware. Do you know what Delaware is? It's one backwater, but they've created that issue of registering companies. That's why they're moving on. We can't do Lagos and Abuja. Nigeria can't survive that way. Lagos, Abuja. There are 36 states in Nigeria. Or is it 37 FCT? In Nigeria. Why are we not going to the other ones? Emmanuel, thanks, man. Moses, you've got the floor. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, sir.
What's up, man? You're welcome, Emmanuel. Hey, Moses, go ahead. Moses, you've got the floor. I've got Tangible Capital Partners. Investor.
Hey, Kalu, how are you?
I am very well, bro. How you doing? What's up?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. It's Tango Capital Partners, but it's Dami speaking from
Dami.
UK.
Cool.
I wanted to say great work with all the threads. It's very good having very analytical minds, especially yourself and Olumide. You guys are the champion in the Twitter space for Nigerian capital markets. So we're a private placement firm, investor relations firm here in the UK, but we obviously work with clients in Nigeria. And we're looking currently into the research between the real economy performance versus the stock market performance, and how the stock market has become the last hope, in quotes, for Nigerians, for the average Nigerians, right?
Interesting.
So just wanted to get your view on economic landscape and stock market performance, especially the rally. I saw that the Villa has already released a publication on.
You saw that, right?
Today, taking credit for it. So I wanted to know your views on stuff like that.
Yeah, you should know, Tangible, that every politician is very careful about grabbing onto the stock market. Trump did it.
Yeah.
And Trump did it, and what happened when the markets crashed? It was put in his face. Biden tried to do it. Yeah, and you because the stock market will always go up and down. That's the way it will always go up. So when you say you made the stock market go up, it's going to go down. So are you going to be the one that made it go down? So, but I don't blame them for grabbing it, because, like I said off the session with, if you look at all the macroeconomic indicators in Nigeria, I struggle to see anyone that is positive.
Of course. And my biggest fear, and I've been very careful not to speak openly about it, but obviously if you use the laws of physics to your common sense, right? What goes up must come down. I think the reason why there has to always be a correction on these sorts of pricing is just the fact that the fundamentals of most of these companies have not actually been sorted for price to be rallying. A lot of these companies are still very much tied to the macroeconomic picture. And unless something happens, the only game that can be played is financial engineering and stock market manipulation. We saw
hold up.
Recently happened with obviously Dollar taking a stake in Dangote Cement.
No, hold up.
If that was in the US or in the UK, the SEC probably wouldn't allow that type of transaction to take place.
Why won't they allow it?
Obviously the privileges of certain information, they would be probed specifically. In terms of obviously, when you have like lists of politically exposed people that are also like business influential people that when they're doing a transaction like that, they'll need to find out what sell side or buy side information they had first.
Yeah, but I don't think Tangible. I can buy Dangote today. You can buy Dangote today. I don't think there is anything non-public that Mr. Otedola knows that the market does not know. Dangote, 2 years ago, I think it was 2020 or 2021, Nigeria was the best performing stock market on earth.
Yeah. Even last year it was one of the top.
One of the top. That 2021 year, Nigeria was the best performing stock market on just one stock, Dangote Cement. Dangote Cement has embarked on a stock buyback, which means whatever happens, Dangote price is going to go up. So I'm buying Dangote. And when everyone says, when we had guests here, they always say buy Dangote. Dangote stock is the number one capitalized stock in Nigeria. So I don't see, it's not a secret. It would be a secret if Mr. Otedola was buying shares in one Charm or one hidden company. then suddenly Tinubu now gave Charm a contract. But everyone knows, if you are paying attention, Nigeria wants to build cement roads. So Dangote and Bua do cement. So obviously, it's a green light flashing. What Otedola has is just more cash. I want to buy, if I have the money, I'll buy 1 million shares of Dangote, but I don't have the cash. Otedola has the means. So people are buying Dangote stocks, but we don't hear about them because he is buying a lot. So he's going to come in like a bulldozer, and that's why it's flashing red. The market is not really manipulated in Nigeria. What's going on in Nigeria? Nigeria is a cheap stock to buy now. If I take $1,000, that's more than ₦1 million. I can buy Nigerian stocks at a PE or below 15, and I'm buying earnings today. If I lose my $1,000, in Jesus' name, I won't lose it. Abi, that's what they say. It's $1,000. But if that $1,000 makes it, last week I told people, when do you buy stocks? Just overall, you buy stocks when they are down, not when they are up. You buy it when it's down. So if is Nigeria a good story today or a bad story economically? Today, Nigeria is a bad story economically. So maybe you should buy. I'm not saying you should do, but I'm saying if you want to buy something, you want to buy it when it's battered. If you go to a supermarket, they say shoes for sale. Everybody gets and everybody buys a shoe because it's shoes for sale. But when they say stocks for sale, people run away. Olumide will have more to talk on it. Olumide, what's your take? Maybe let's talk about this. It was on Twitter last week that Otedola, Dangote, manipulation. Olumide, give us your take on it. Olumide will have more on that.
Thanks, Mr. Carl. Good evening. I wanted to just be listening, but
Olumide, you can't listen on my space. So Olumide, you can't listen on my space. Next, once I see you, I'll be putting you on speaker and make like I see you.
Yeah, but so first of all, you said it all, but I think the perception we have in our markets is that because the Nigerian economy has a lot of roadblocks, we have bad companies or bad practices, which is totally false. So I recall, because I wrote so many news about Warren Buffett making an announcement about share purchases. It's just that he notified. And there are some instances that some of these guys will just sit in the news, and it's not as long as non-public information. There's a clause. And another problem is that most of the people that analyze markets are pretty much vague about financial terminologies. There's a difference between insiders buying and insiders trading. Now, if you look at the proponents of how the NGX work, when we have directors, they usually announce their purchases, and unlike where we have in the United States, that when they sell, like when Mark Zuckerberg sold his stock in December in Q4, there was an announcement. We don't have that in Nigeria. That's key differences. But when those top guys make purchases, particularly directors, and there's an announcement. And also the fact that we think the market is just a Ponzi scheme, I think it's very awful. I looked at the market. Indian stock market, as at last year, was around below $2 trillion. Right now, it's bigger than the stock market of France. France is the biggest stock market in Europe, and France has Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton happens to be a company run by Bernard Arnault, and Bernard Arnault is one of the richest men in the world. People are not saying the market is a Ponzi, and one of the reasons why Indian market is doing so well is because most investors are leaving China and betting on India because of the property bubble, property crisis, and also the fact that FPIs are not coming into that market. So FPIs are also going, and China is having population problems too. So the dynamics of the market is that if you look at the Nigerian stock market, despite the rally, it's still below 51 billion. And just like Kalu rightly said, small money can make big in the market. I was trying to compare valuations, look at excuses. We were saying, why am I comparing a tech company with a banking stock? Okay, Champs Nigeria is a fintech company that has been doing business since 2008. If I look at the back of the fintech business, the company is about 36 years old in operation. It has a $15 valuation. This company mints profit. At least it has minted profit at least in the last 9 quarters. Now, I brought out their profits. If you look at Stripe has a $50 billion valuation. Stripe made losses in 2022. So the question here is that Nigerian stock market, despite the gasp that it looks like a pump, they are very, very traditional.
Nigerian stock investors are quite traditional when you look at valuation. It took UBA how many years to get to a $1 trillion valuation? Despite the fact the bank made $404 million in pre-tax profit half year last year. If that was listed in the United States, we know where it will be going. So, Kalu, sometimes these things, because sometimes why I just stay quiet is that I understand this is every regulatory. So investment banks don't like to talk about these things. But when we just come in and throw nuts because the country has issues as successful companies, many of these guys are attacking these companies. They have bogus valuations. You just come in on Instagram, you show us eating sushi on plane, you can't bring in a revenue of $1 million, and you're coming to say your company is worth $500 because you happen to relate with some funny venture capitalists that give you some ridiculous valuation. The stock market valuation is much realistic because it's a consensus of investors, investment bankers, institutional investors, and the market itself. Let inflated. It gets me.
Let me push back to you a bit. Let me push back to you, Olumide. Let me push back to you, Olumide, because let me push back to what Tanjay is trying to say. We have Unilever leaving. We have GSK leaving. We have so many multinationals leaving, and they tell us they are leaving because the Nigerian market is poor. The guys in Nigeria cannot afford our products. There's this boy on Kalu saying that Nigerians can afford imported goods. With this noise about the goods, about companies leaving Nigeria, how come you then have companies listed in the Nigerian stock market then producing fantastic results? Charm, you spoke about 1,000% return. So marry that for us. Marry the fact that foreigners are leaving, but companies in Nigeria are doing well.
I understand. Like I said, there are concerns in the Nigerian economy. I was even I was worried about multinationals selling onshore assets, particularly in the oil sector. And we knew the reasons why, that the environment was not conducive. But you see, the truth of the matter is that some locals have figured it out. You see, I read Fola Adiola's review, Harvard Business Review. I read Jim Ovia's book in this School of Economics. And there are three things that they highlighted. They understood the terrain. These guys were not born with blue blood. They were professionals that understood their country's market. That is why I said, see, every country has what we call home advantage. Mark Zuckerberg utilizes his home advantage. No matter how intelligent you are in tech, and you cannot beat those guys in their top. Everybody knows home advantage matters. So those guys that in the past decade, GT and Zenith have been consistently giving dividend. Are you telling me that these banks just came up powerful from us? These were banks that challenged First Bank and Union Bank. So the question here is that the guys that have been able to become successful despite the exit of multinationals is either they have government patronage, they have understanding about the local market, and they were very disciplined. Zeplat is another good example. Zeplat was a company a lot of people thought will mess up. You know what happened to Oando? But look at Zeplat today. Despite the fact that the oil sector is full of some level of inconsistency, Zeplat has been able to do amazingly well. Zeplat is also listed on the London Stock Exchange, so you could argue that the level of governance is quite admirable. So I think we should also look at the fact that, the locals that have been successful have been able to take the home top and to their advantage. Dangote, Rabiu, these are other guys on their own.
So you're saying it's home top.
We say that multinationals are not getting up, but for the multinationals, I still feel that because locals have been able to take advantage, that is not good enough. We need to open the top because there are limits to what locals don't have the purchasing, locals don't have the competitive power of multinationals. Multinationals want to play by the book. Multinationals want to be very strict with their rules. So I think the Nigerian market is not suitable for them, and that's where my worry is. Disposable income you spoke about, UBA, First Bank, Zenith, GT, they were way before that. If you look at UBA's profit, Carl, you analyzed it in Q1. I remember your analysis. They focused on treasury management. They knew that disposable income was going to. So what did UBA start? UBA was thinking like a Goldman Sachs. And that's why when we called UBA's report last year, UBA's result was just like a Goldman Sachs result because they focused more on investment banking. Many of these banks, Zenith, why is Zenith the most profitable bank in Nigeria? Zenith is the most profitable in Nigeria because they don't focus on retail, they focus on corporate. Simple. So you see, most of these guys have been able to key in on their strengths and be consistent. And that's why I said, it's better we just follow the old generation because you see, my fear about the newer generation is that we just like to complain, but we don't do the work. How many companies, apart from Piggyvest, apart from Paystack, you can count them. How many of them are sustainable with level of corporate governance? Till today, all the tech companies listed on the stock market, none of them have evaporated investors' funds.
Interesting.
But we have many cases of Nigeria losing funds. So what excuses are we making? Those guys are also exposed to devaluation of Naira. Those guys are also exposed to high inflation. Those guys are also exposed to all the things we are complaining about. And many of these guys are not, are just quiet. They're just doing their job.
Okay,
and the stock market is giving them a crazy valuation. And people are crying that the market is exaggerated. I don't understand it.
Gotcha. Let me get Tangible back in. Dami, go ahead.
The best things that Nigeria has, and you rightly said, is the home advantage, right? The ability for us to obviously get in, especially the everyday citizen to get in, to understand the business models of a lot of these big corporates is the most important thing. I think we need to take our eyes away from the macroeconomic picture and look more on corporate structures, corporate performance and corporate strategies. I think that's one of the most important things. And you know, the benefit is whilst obviously India and a few other markets are having their moment to shine, I think this is the best time for people to kind of have an underdog view on a Nigerian NGX for the time being. Because what will happen is once the macroeconomic picture starts to adjust, the growth figures start to look more promising to the bigger investments, the asset management firms, the private investors. What you will see is they will start taking stakes in some of our companies listed on the NGX. But I think this is actually the time for home investors to enjoy the profits and gains and successes.
So Tangible, are you saying, in your view, is Nigeria buy, hold, or sell?
In my view, it's definitely a buy. But it's a buy with a view of this might not reap within the next 1 to 2 years, and and the reason I say that is that there's multiple parts of it. If you're coming purely for currency hedge, as okay, I have money, I have savings, and I'm not getting a good enough interest on my money sitting down, I will say spread your money across. Obviously, the financial sector, insurance, look into consumer retails in terms of where to put your portfolio in Nigeria. Definitely, that's why I would say it's a buy. If you're looking for short-term gains and you know that you've got the liquidity to come in and out of the market, and you're going to be event-driven, definitely a hold. But for anybody that's looking for 1 quarter, 2 quarters, this is not the time to be buying on a short-term scale. For sure, now you'll get burned. Burned for sure.
Good call. So it's more like you're take that position now. 18 months out, is this sort of 2 quarter table?
Okay. And you know what? Unfortunately, and you know they say tighten your belt. So unfortunately, when it comes to investing on the stock market, you just have to tighten your belt. Don't look at what your personal P&L is every month. Just have your conviction in terms of I invest in this company because I understand the strategy of what the corporates are doing. And also one other thing that you can do, and one thing I've noticed about Nigerian corporates is the freedom of information is actually easier to get. In terms of if you know there's somebody that works in the company, just ask them a few questions. Obviously, they can't give you financial information or any like numbers or figures, but ask them, okay, look, what's the company focusing on in over the next couple of months, and you're closer to the people that are running these companies than you are in maybe the UK or the United States, right? So be strategic on how you acquire your information is one important thing.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Gotcha. Someone said I should talk more about Eurobonds. What do you want to know? You want to ask a specific question so I know how to...
Yeah, that was another one. I wanted to say, also, people should utilize the CPs. The CP market is another good avenue where...
What CP? You got to say CP in full so people know what you're saying. Commercial paper, you got to say it in full.
Yeah, commercial papers, yes. I think that's another way that a lot of the major corporates are also... are performing well when and returning money to the everyday investors. Obviously, yes, you need to have a broker and you need to have the access to the instrument. But I think CPs is another way people can put their money to work very, very actively, especially this year. You will see a couple companies come into the market and saying, okay, we want to issue a bond. I know there's a Eurobond discussion maybe towards the end of the year for the Nigerian federal government. So look into those sorts of things where companies are looking to raise, in quotes, cheap financing for projects, and you just happily give them your money and have that confident stance that this is the performance of the coupon. I know they're not going to run away with my money, and that's a better way than going to all these small Ponzi schemes that are maybe local.
Yeah, CPs are doing like, I know it's a CP from AfriInvest doing about 18% or so for 2 years. I mean, people say it's not going to beat inflation. CPs are not designed to beat inflation. They're designed to get you income in that very, very short term. A CP is essentially fixed deposit. But when you do fixed deposit, you go to your bank. You give your bank the money. Your bank gives you a certificate called that fixed deposit. A CP is the company is borrowing directly from you. So because the company is quote unquote riskier than the bank, they pay you more interest. So the commercial paper is the same as a fixed deposit, but you're borrowing directly. So if you want more returns, more yield on your fixed income, you can also go to your bank and ask him, what commercial papers do you guys have? Most of the times, those bankers know who is selling, and you can actually buy from the bank or from your broker. So that's the way for you to extend your yield, to get more yield on the same Naira investments that you have. And it's mostly big names. Dangote does CP all the time. MTN, they all do CP. So ask your banker or your stockbroker. Yeah. All right, cool.
And then also, it's same view on any private placement. So if any companies are having maybe liquidation events and they want to bring new investors, that's also another avenue for people.
That's equity. That's equity. That's due diligence. That's taking more risk. Yeah. That's more closed market. I like the CP one. So go ask about the CPs, guys. Your banks are there. Ask your bankers questions. People always come to them and say, my banker doesn't know this. Ask your banker. If he doesn't know, get a new banker. Yeah, get a new banker. All right. Just to you. How you doing, sir? You got the floor. Tangel, thanks so much. Appreciate your input.
Kalu, thank you for the opportunity to speak. But also, I wanted to kind of commend you. I think a lot of us are taking a look at the Nigerian market, holistically. And I think your breakdown over the last few months, at least I've only been following you the last few months, got your book and everything, has been quite instrumental in trying to explain what is not common, I would say, from a Western perspective. I think I have a question that was already kind of answered, but I think when the gentleman who spoke before from Tango Capital said something about freedom of information, I think one of the things that we have realized is that it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. I think you're meant to trust an employee of a company, but sometimes they generally have little to no information of what's really going on. I think that's kind of the consensus that I've at least experienced over the last few years. Anyway, and so that can kind of be a little bit of a problem. And there's no, I guess the way we look at it is there's no way to hold this particular person hold them accountable, because they could just be, at the end of the day, they could just talking as a private citizen who think they understand what they're talking about, which can make things a little bit more complicated than meets the eye for someone, I guess, for companies or for firms who think about things on a long-term perspective, anything over 36 months and up. What is your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure I got that direct question. You're talking about tenure. Could you ask that question again? I'm not sure I got to it.
So obviously, when you want to make certain decisions, you look for as much information as you can, and like the gentleman from Tango Capital rightly said, and there's a lot of information out there from people directly who work for these companies. And I think one of the things that the West kind of blesses us with is the fact that when people from these certain companies say things or they give out information that is somewhat public, they should be able to stand behind it. But from firms that at least I've personally interacted with, sometimes they're so far from the truth because they're a little bit uninformed. And if you make decisions based on what this particular person tells you, and it doesn't add up to what's actually true, there's a lot of it's a big double-edged sword that sometimes when it's right, it's like so right that the percentage doesn't make sense, that you're like, did I just commit some sort of fraud here because it's so good? And then sometimes when it's so wrong, it's so bad. So it becomes a little bit of a double-edged sword that cannot be explained, or I would say he can't hold certain things accountable. What are your thoughts around that? Is it just part of the home turf?
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, so in Nigeria, when we say emerging markets, we actually mean emerging markets, right? There are many things that we do in Nigeria that we can't get away with if we were, say, abroad. There's a bar in Lagos, and those that know will know what I'm talking. There's a bar in Lagos that is frequented by the quote-unquote Wall Street CEO. Normal bar. That bar hasn't, don't call them the bar if you know the bar. That bar hasn't changed since I've been going there. It's same decor. When you go to that bar and you just sit down and you just listen, there's things you hear. I go to that bar. I used to work in investment banking in Lagos. We will go there, sit down, go on Monday and trade. You know, that bar alone. Also using WhatsApp. I see many Nigerians have WhatsApp. On that WhatsApp channel, there'll be bankers, there'll be stockbrokers, they'll be talking about companies, talking about this. In the US, you would get fined billions for talking on WhatsApp about in your company about what you're doing.
Yeah,
but that's a quota. In a funny way, that's what he's implying, that the information is easier to get in Nigeria. You go for a wedding, you see the wedding, a guy sitting next to you is the whatever CFO of some companies, and he's just talking. You chatting, but he's not going to tell you to go and buy the shirt, but he's going to tell you, oh, I'm going to Calabar tomorrow. What are you going to do in Calabar? Oh, we want to go and look at some company I want to buy. That puts you on alert that, oh, what's in Calabar? You go back and you look at Calabar. Oh, GE is coming to Calabar. And he's going to Calabar. That means GE might use him. Okay, who is his company? You go and buy this. That's really what it's all about, you know. In the US, people actually go and count number of buildings, number of cars that are flowing to this building to see directions. We have it easier. So those laws are hard to prove. Inside trading is a very, very hard thing to prove. What is material knowledge, and is it not available to the public? That's, you know, again, if you go at that Dangote example, everybody knows that cement prices are going to go up because there's going to be higher demand, because the minister has said we are going to invest in cement roads. There's already cement roads in Lagos. They want to do more of it. If you're doing infrastructure, that's cement. So is there any insider trade if I buy Dangote cement? I doubt it, because it's much known. Maybe your broker should tell you specifically. You know, when you come on and you say, Kalu, what should I buy? You know, it's the difficult. You know, your broker might not tell you directly, but if you have a good broker, he can break it down for you. Last week, someone asked the question, where should we invest? And I said, look at the budget. Look at where they're spending money. You go after the money. If they're going to spend money on aeroplanes, you go and say, okay, who does the parking or the catering for aeroplanes? And then you buy it. What is SACO? You buy all that. That's Olumide, you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add up to what you said. You know, preview to the presidential election, I spoke with a couple of investment bankers, and I just wanted to know their sentiments of the market, and I was able to compute. If you look at my timeline, I did a trade. I said if Peter Obi wins, these are stocks that will likely do well. If Atiku wins, these are stocks that will likely do well. If Tinubu wins, I highlighted Dangote Cement, I highlighted Julius Berger, I highlighted Agro. And the reason, just like you rightly said, if you look at Tinubu's style of governance in Lagos, you will definitely know that he has affinity for cement. It was a no-brainer. So cement was bound to happen. Now, if you look at 2023, Dangote Cement didn't really do too well. But if you look at, there was a trigger, and a lot of people didn't follow it. If you look at the increased allocation of federal government spending on, and the federal ministry was particular about cement roads, just like you said, who are the biggest players in cement? Now, if you look at the fact that, okay, you want to argue that maybe it's non-disclosure, non-public disclosure information. Look at these two stocks, BUA Cement and Dangote. It's difficult for you to have public information of two companies at sequence period. Dangote is up by more than 50% this year. So the question here is that a lot of people, you see, like you rightly said, don't listen to their investment banks. They'll come to social media and throw tantrums. It is these guys understand market, and the quality of information enhances your investment capability. That is why, despite my exposure in the market, I still sit councils, I still talk with investment bankers, because They see a lot of things that we don't see. And you see, the ability of personal research is that it gives you the power to discern information. You'll be able to know which one is quality and which one is just hearsay. If you had invested when President Tinubu came in, just on cement, with even the Naira devaluation, you would have done better. I listed amount of stocks. People are just saying the black market and the Naira. All the big boys, they had information. Okay, they had information. They were still buying. Why were they not buying the black market dollar rate? Why were they just buying stocks? There was a time Sterling Bank was 1 naira 60 kobo. Check the price. There was a time Wema Bank was less than 2 naira. Check the price. There was a time Fidelity was. Check the price. So even with the devaluation of the naira, they've done far better than people that even invested in Tesla. 3 reasons why. Because the stock was pretty much on the value. There was so much opportunity. Pension funds were increasing their allocation. FPIs, despite the fact they were not investing in the market, they were institutional buying from big funds in key stocks. And that's why we saw 12 companies hitting the trillion naira mark. So, the bottom line is that he that takes heed to quality information will definitely have something to make of it. And he that listens to the crowd will definitely sit on the sideline and be complaining.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to use every avenue you have to get information. And Nigeria is easier. Nigeria has less than how many companies quoted? In America, there are like 4,000 companies alone on the VTI ETF. So that's why ETFs are good there, because you can't track all of them. But Nigeria, you can really track. I mean, the premium board, how many companies are there? PTF board, how many companies are there? If you really want to track companies, it's easy. And if you don't know, ask your banker or ask your stockbroker, because they want you to buy, so they'll give you information, right? And if you don't have a banker or a stockbroker, then why are you an investor? Just maybe be a saver, or maybe go join the cooperative and then combine your investments and invest. Listen, if you don't have money, combine yourself. There are 5 of you, combine. You have 1 million, walk to a banker or a broker and say, I have $1 million naira, what should I buy? They'll listen to you. But if you go with 20K, maybe they might not listen to you. And I'm being honest with you. So you've got to combine. You have a cooperative. You watch soccer. Form investment club. Every time Arsenal scores 1 goal, you contribute money to the pot. You guys take that money and you invest every quarter. This is the year of diversification, of doing new things. You can't do the old things again and think you're going to make money, right? Turo, you want to do a comeback, and then I can move to the Turo.
Yeah, I mean, I think Olumide kind of said it right, but I think my only worry as ever is like Nigeria is one of the easiest places to make money. Like when it hits, and like you rightly said earlier, Kalu, when it doesn't hit, sometimes you lose $1,000. It's like, from dollar perspective, it's like, whatever. I wouldn't have done better with like Tesla in such a short space of time anyway. But I think I go to Olumide's kind of like main concern earlier, which is like the lack of standard economic formula that quote unquote home turf advantage people like Nigerians don't like. The home turf advantage that Nigerians have is quite unique, but it doesn't actually translate into something that's logical that can be followed year on year for long term for international investors, for example. And I think that's where my concern always lies. I think if my parents were in Nigeria, if I didn't spend a lot of time there, some things just cannot make sense in a boardroom. It doesn't matter how you try to sell it. I think that's always the big concern, because no matter what way we look at it, for these things to succeed, we need to somehow get some more outside investment. That's what I was getting at. I completely agree with what you both said.
Good job. So I got a question on DM. Someone's asking about the Eurobonds. How can you buy Eurobonds? So Eurobonds are usually, you can buy them through your banker or your stockbroker. There are a few banks that are very, very heavy on Eurobonds. I just did a tweet out of my own brokers that I use to buy Eurobonds. There are 4 of them. Arthur Stevens, FCMB Asset Management was actually here for a very long time talking to us about Eurobonds. I think that was the year before. They spoke a lot about Eurobonds. If you had bought then, imagine what the money you'd have been making today. Afri Invest, and of course CSL. So if you just go to my tweet, I just did a tweet out on the 4. You can use any SEC registered or any CBN registered banker or broker to buy Eurobonds. But most bankers or most banks or most investment houses already have funds. So the easy way for you to buy Eurobonds is just to buy a dollar fund. Those dollar funds that buy the retail side of the Eurobond and then give you that exposure. Because I believe you need $200,000 to buy Eurobonds directly. But if you don't have $20,000, you can just buy the maybe $1,000 worth by buying into a dollar fund issued by a Nigerian registered entity like FCMB or AfriInvest and the rest. So I just tweeted that out so that's for you, sir. You can just go in and you can see it, right? Excellent. Infinite blooper reel. Infinite, how you doing? Infinite, go ahead.
Hi.
Hey, what's up, man?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah. Go for it.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you again, Carlo, for this space. So I want to ask two questions. The first is about our real estate sector. And the second is, it's just humor. So I'll go straight to the real estate question. I've been avoiding it for some reasons, which I'll explain. And I have some friends who we looked at some real estate deals, but we just did not have enough risk appetite to go in for some reasons. The first is insecurity seems to be increasing, and that's feeding into high prices of food and driving up inflation. That also has caused some persons I know to leave the country, and it means that the middle class that drives that kind of market is also shrinking. And when you add the general economic performance, which has been poor and is making imports more expensive, also feeding into inflation and food prices and all of that, it's not looking good. And then when I looked at what the CBN governor said last time about the economy and inflation, I think they may raise rates again. Although Nigerians we don't usually take out mortgage to buy houses, we just buy them outright in cash and rent also. When you look at real estate developers that take loans to go build real estate, I think higher interest rates can affect their growth prospects. So these are the things I've been looking at for the general economy and the security situation, the middle class living in large numbers. What do you think? How do you think this affects the real estate market? Is it a good outlook? I know it's very resilient, but
I'm not sure I got the question. What was the question? How you say interest rate? What's the question? If you can.
Yeah, I outlined these things as risks that I think will affect the real estate market's profitability. And my question is, am I weighing the risks correctly?
Well, real estate, like you've said, is really based on the cost of financing in Nigeria. That's number one, the cost of financing, because when you want to build a home, most times we don't have the monies ourselves, so we borrow. Again, in America and the Western world, they do a 30-year mortgage. So you get the house today, then you pay over 30 years. In Nigeria, it's the reverse. You use 30 years and you build a house. So you buy the land, you cut the land, you build one foundation and all that. So interest rate does not affect the building of the house. What it affects is the purchasing power of the guy building the house. If interest rates go up, maybe you find yourself that you are spending more, so you have less disposable income to build your house. That's the way it usually works in Nigeria. Land is always cheap if you go outside the metro area. So the way people build land in Nigeria, as you know, is you go outside the metro areas. You buy swamp or you buy forest land, and you go there, you cut the land, you take your time, you use personal savings, and you build it up. That is not really going to be changed or affected by the movements in monetary policy rate. Not really. The one thing I see that might happen this year, number one, PFAs are allowing you to take 25% of your funds as a down payment. That helps. But again, only a very few Nigerians have a PFA account. Less than 10 million have a PFA account. And maybe more, how many have enough money to take 25% out to make any meaningful impact on a mortgage? If you look at this year's budget, there's a 30 billion, I think it's 30 billion post there for consumer finance. It's there, 30 billion consumer finance. I'm not sure what that is for. If they want to do consumer finance, if they want to support consumer finance with 30 billion, I'm not sure. I'm going to look at that project, that part again, and try to see where they are going to with that 30 billion. Because what they need to do is to do seed funding. whereby if a bank gives you a loan, then the bank can get its money back through a refinance corporation. So that way, that's the way it works. It's now faster. The bank knows you. The bank can give you a loan, then the bank can run to the refinance company and get the money to pay itself back, so its balance sheet is still active to give more loans. Without doing that, we're not going to do well in terms of mortgages. I'm bringing an expert on mortgages. I think it's going to come the week after the next week to talk about opportunities in real estate. And we're going to ask him these questions. He's a very, very experienced guy. He's done government and private sector, so he's really going to have a lot to say on that. But that's what I'll say. I mean, if you are young in Nigeria, one of the best investments you can do is to just go buy land somewhere and fence it. Just buy land somewhere and fence it. That's one of the best investments you can make, because you have that land, and every year the land appreciates. You might not get revenues from the land, but the day you're ready to build, you have something to build on. If you have to leave, it's there for you. So I always just get it. Just get that one, or get two. Get two. Maybe you can sell one and then build one. But it's a very, very good investment for a young person. It won't give you returns, but it's you front loading. You are locking in a piece of expense that you might have to make later on in life by buying it today. So I would say go outside Lagos. There are very, very cheap properties. All these states you look at are very, very cheap now. In 15 years, there will be no more cheap land per se. In the southwest, most of the southeast, it will all be gone, because lots of people that are Japan now, in the next 5 years, are going to be buying land to build homes back in Nigeria. Lots of people are going to be buying lots of land that couldn't afford property. Look at the demographics in Nigeria. Before, say, 1990, who bought land? Rich people, older people, and all that. People that maybe were abroad. Now, when you have this amount of Nigerians, young people that didn't have a home or land in Nigeria, they've all moved abroad to Canada. In the next 5 years, once they settle in Canada, what do you think they're going to do? They're going to come back to Nigeria, not to move back. They're going to come back and start to buy up property in Nigeria. And they're not going to buy in, say, Ogun or Oyo. When I mean Ogun or Oyo, they're going to buy in the state capital. Watch out, you're going to see a company will come to Nigeria and build an estate, gated community estate, for only the quote-unquote Jakbad. And they will pay their rent in Canada. And that estate in Nigeria will be looked after for them. They have it in Ghana. They have an estate in Ghana where Americans buy property in Ghana and they settle everything in America. They take up the estate for them in Ghana from America. So you're going to see those sort of things will start to happen in Nigeria. You see a tower owned by guys that have Jakbad, and they come there and stay for 2 weeks, and when they're not there, it will be Airbnb. So the demographics of who a quote-unquote middle-class person in Nigeria is going to change. These guys that live abroad, that are Nigerians, they would never stop being Nigerian. If a kid, 25-year-old, got married to a 30-year-old, and they grew up in Nigeria, and they moved to Canada, they are still going to be spending in Nigeria, and now they have a higher purchasing power because they live in Canada. We won't capture them in NBS statistics in Nigeria, but just like the same way you have the Chinese and the Indians spending money in India and China from the diaspora, that's what you're going to see in Nigeria. So get ahead of them, buy your land and wait. The demographics is going to change out a bit, and it will be interesting what the next years will bring. All right, thanks, sir. Just a quick question before I go back to DM. I've got TO of NGX Stock Exchange. How are you doing, sir? Please go ahead, sir. TO.
Yes. Good evening, sir.
How are you doing?
Fine. Can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. I really appreciate all what you've been doing. I don't let a day go without going through your tweets. I love them so much. I learn daily from them.
I appreciate that, sir. Thank you.
I really want to appreciate you. Please keep on the good work. I really, really appreciate you. So when I saw this, your tweet as regards you having a meeting, I also have joined since 8 p.m., but I was booked for a call. So what I just want to ask is this. I realized that the stock market has really disconnected from what is happening in the economy. And as you are speaking, the market has crossed the 94,000 psychological line, and it is at the overbought region. Even technical showing that MACD above signal line and other factors. So my question is this, like, okay, what do you think about the state of the market? Because correction can happen anytime soon. So I just wanted to speak about the stock market generally as regards the overbought region it is on currently. And I was hearing you speaking about Otto Steven. If anybody wants any information about Otto Steven, I have a partnership with them. I bring clients for them. I manage people's portfolio.
Okay, sir. Okay. All right, I got you. So
I would like to speak about the market, sir. Thank you.
No worries. Yeah. So you said the market can correct. That's incorrect. The market will correct. All stock markets correct. Markets go up, markets come down. So the market you see today will fall, but it will rise, then it will fall, then it will rise, then it will fall. The question for you is this: if the price of Gala is going to go up and down, up and down, up and down, but you buy Gala every day, does the price matter to you? If you are buying Gala and you eat Gala every day and you can afford it, does the price of it going up or down really matter to you? The answer is not really. You still buy it. So what I'm trying to say is this: if you are an investor and you want to buy a good company for the long term, the price movement doesn't really matter to you. Whether you buy it at 10 naira or 20 naira, you are trying to buy the earnings of that company today. That's what your intention is. Unless you are a trader that wants to buy at a low price and sell at a high price, then the price matters to you because you are looking at getting into a price movement. You want to buy it at the valley and sell at the mountain. That's a different topic entirely. But I like to just focus on the investor. If you find out that the Dangote Cement Company is a good company because their earnings is very, very solid, their capitalization and market share is very, very solid, they pay a good dividend, that's very, very solid, does it really matter if the price of Dangote Cement goes up or down if you already own it? I don't think it matters. You've bought the company, right? Doesn't really matter. If you buy a mango tree and the mango tree has farming, and there's some years the mango tree brings mangoes, some years it does not bring mango, do you cut off the tree and say, because this year it did not bring seeds, I'll cut the tree off? Or do you say, well, next year it will bring seeds, so I'm going to hold on to my my tree for it to give me more and more and more seeds? That's really the way. So it's your objective. Why you are investing is very, very important, because if you're investing to hold and to make a dividend for the long term, then of course that's, you are in a better position. The stock market rewards time, not timing. The stock market rewards time, not timing. The longer you stay in the market, let me give you a data point I read last week, and I put them on Twitter. They tracked the performance of the stock market in the US from 1929 till date, and they got the numbers. I don't give wrong numbers. Let's just assume they got like 1,000, and they removed the 10 best years from 1929 till present. Do you know what when they removed the 10 best years? Do you know the return on the stock market for the years without those 10 best years? It was nearly zero. It was 0.1. What's the point? The movement in the stock market happened in very, very short periods. Very, very short periods. That if you miss out on those short period movement, you miss out on the growth of the market as a whole. So for instance, if you missed out, let's just take Nigeria. Let's say you sold your stocks because you said Buhari was a bad president. Just assume. And you sold your stocks during Buhari's regime. Then you didn't buy your stocks back when Tinubu became president. You would have lost out on this rally. Even if you buy today, you would have still lost out because you haven't gained, your stocks have not gained the quote unquote Tinubu premium of buying from when Tinubu became president till today. But if you had stayed invested, you would have enjoyed the Buhari, Tinubu rise in stock prices. Do you get the point I'm making? When you leave the market, when you try to time the market, you take your stocks, your money out of the market, you might lose out on those 2 days that will cause your entire portfolio to rise, because the movement, the performance in the stock market happens in very, very short periods. After a while, it goes back to dull or it falls. But when it goes up, if you are invested, then you are invested. So the market rewards time in the market. It doesn't reward timing the market. Tio, I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, so stay invested. That's the word. Stay invested. That's what I'll say. Stay invested in the market. If you're an investor, stay invested. Don't try to buy, sell. If you want to be a trader, that's all well and good. But if you want to really get the battle of the stock market, stay invested. Hey, David, you've got a question. Go ahead. David, go ahead.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to ask about, I don't know if you answer question, relating to investing in something like agriculture.
That's more like a business, so, and it's difficult to answer. It depends on what you ask. If you start asking me where to buy, I might not know the answer to that, right? So investing, I know more, but business needs research. That's really why. So it depends on what you're going to ask. What's the question? And I'll see if...
Okay, the question is, recently I've been making research about this bee farming. It's actually quite lucrative, though, the region I'm trying to study bee farming business is quite different from the region I'm staying in. So I have been trying to wrap my head around how I can actually run the bee farming business for another person.
Yeah, that's a farming question, bro. That might not be the best guy to answer. That's a business or farming question. You understand? I might not be the best guy to answer that question.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome, bro. Thanks so much. Yeah. Hey, Steven. Yeah, you're welcome. Steven Ade, go ahead. I got Steven Ade going once, Steven Ade going twice. Hey, look. Lulu Nakraz. Did I get her name? Lulu _ Nakraz. Lulu, hey, how you doing?
Carlo, always nice having you on this spaces and Olumide. I always follow you guys and the contribution to Nigeria Twitter, it's priceless. So thank you very much for what you do. Everything you said so far regarding staying invested, I've seen this happen in my own case. And also, for instance, most of the stocks that were bought by my dad some time ago, most of them, he bought them at a loss. But many of them did. But recently now, it seems many of them are outperforming, most of other investments that we have. Why? Not really because the companies are really doing anything special, like I posted. Many of them are actually pumping because of excess capital or money on the printing that went on in Nigeria. I don't know if I'm being heard.
Yes, you are.
Okay. So it's actually very true. Then also some of the lands that we bought some time ago, many of them we didn't even think they were even going to do anything, but we are seeing people coming from abroad buying these things, gradually, at very ridiculous sums. So everything you said actually is actually correct in terms of land, buy bush, keep it there, fence it if possible. Just only fencing can actually do the trick, and these are real investments that people can actually do with very little money. Then the other thing again I was thinking of is the manufacturing in Nigeria, because what we are seeing right now, a lot of people are, like in Nigeria, it is terrible. A lot of people don't have any real job. It's only in the cities that you see one or two things happening in terms of jobs. So I don't know. Companies are packing up. I don't know how we are going to really solve this problem of opening the companies and letting the economy grow organically through, productive labor. So that's something I've been thinking of. How is this going to change, or we are going to still rely on, debt and money printing to finance deficit? So I don't know how this is going to change, or if it's going to change at any point in time, because I don't think the government policy is going to, within these few years now that they've stayed, the APC government, whether they are going to focus or change their attention towards the manufacturing sector. So these are the things that bother me. And however, what you've said so far, they are all on point in terms of where to focus your attention on in terms of investment. So thank you very much, Carlo, for what you do.
Yeah, thanks. And let me just touch on what you talked about manufacturing. Right now in manufacturing, it's very difficult to make a profit in manufacturing because of just one thing, power. So unless you are manufacturing at scale, the cost of power would eat away your profits. So when I mean scale, if you are a large manufacturing company, you can build that power cost into your product. If the product is elastic or whatever, then people will buy and you can transfer that cost to your purchasers. So for instance, cement is, people need to buy cement. So if you have a high cost of power, you can build it into the cement bags. People will still buy the cement bags. But if you are making hand wash in your backyard in, say, Ekiti State, and you are selling that hand wash to supermarkets across Ekiti State, if you are doing that with generator, the cost of the diesel or the cost of the petrol will eat away the profit you make from that hand wash. That imported hand wash from China or from the UK will be cheaper than yours. So somebody would import hand wash from Sainsbury, and it will be cheaper than you making hand wash in Ekiti to supply to your neighbor in Ekiti. That's the problem in Nigeria, that manufacturing is very expensive. And it's expensive because power, that's just a big one. Productivity, transportation, cost of interest, cost of doing business is very high. So what the government can do is to get out of the way, set the policy, then leave the private sector to take care of the business environment and then generate productivity. The government is very, very, in Nigeria, is usually sometimes an impediment to business because they come in there with laws, with fines, with taxes, even before you start doing business. If you go abroad, you see Texas and California are arguing and looking for investors. Texas governor will fly to, for instance, California to seek investors, and they'll say, if you come to this state, we'll give you zero taxes. So you see them looking for Google, for Microsoft, come on, open up a business here, take zero taxes and all that. In Nigeria, it's the reverse. If you go to a state, the first thing they do is to tax you. The telecom guys say they pay 48 different taxes. This is not personal income tax or corporate income tax. They pay 48 to 60 different taxes, levies in states that they operate in. So who pays taxes? Companies don't pay taxes. Consumers pay taxes. If you tax a company, they pass the taxes to you. You pay taxes. So when you see a government saying we're doing IGR and we're collecting IGR from a company, it's you, the consumer, that is paying the IGR, not the company. So we've got to chill out a bit. Customs will say we've made $1 trillion revenue and they clap for themselves. But that $1 trillion revenue means that the consumers in Nigeria would pay it, not the importing company. If I import steel from China and customs taxes me $1 billion, I don't pay the $1 billion. You pay. I will pay the $1 billion to customs and charge you $1 billion and you pay me back. So we've got to look at it more like, how can we allow, like you said, how can the government allow business to thrive and to make and create jobs? That's the word. It has to be less IGR, less tax, and more of how can we make this man do better? If we have that mindset, I think it has to help us a bit. All right, thanks, Luca. Quick one on Olumide. Someone wanted to speak about Japol. Somebody's saying that why is Japol price? Maybe you can answer this. He's asking that why is Japol not rising in price, and you have Seplat rising in price. So can you help him out there?
Yeah, I don't understand what you mean by why Japol is not rising in price.
He wants to know why Japol is not.
If you look at the stock price on a year spectrum, it's up by over 760%.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what he means by it's not rising. Maybe he wants it to keep up. Maybe the time he bought. You see, just like you really highlighted, first of all, Japol is one of the few companies on the NGX that if you want to have exposure to precious metals, we don't have so much mining companies in the country listed. So Japol has that exposure, and pretty much they did the raise capital, I think about 20 billion in Q4, and they wanted to acquire mines and really boost their margins, which look at their most recent result, they didn't do too bad. Their valuation is still about 20 billion, 19.7 billion actually. But if you look at the upsides, definitely with the rigorous reforms around solid minerals, investors are really keen to that stock. But, some of this stock grew so fast. So when somebody is saying that they are complaining that the stock, I don't understand whether they think it moves like crypto, because 700% for a year, even in America, I don't think we had any stock in America that didn't do 700%. The exciting thing about the stock is that it's a penny stock.
True.
So a lot of retail investors loved it. And it was very liquid because you just 10,000 naira, you've acquired a few thousands of shares. So it's quite appealing to retail investors.
And the name is Japol Gold Ventures. So that's when you say mining, Japol Gold Ventures PLC. Again, like I said, it's a very tiny stock. The total market cap of this company is less than 16 billion. 16 billion.
Yeah.
That is nothing.
Yeah.
16 billion. Revenue is 3 billion.
Actually, yeah.
Revenue is less than 3 billion. But it's a cheap stock. PE is 12. But do they pay? They don't pay dividends. They don't pay dividends, do they? They don't. I don't see any dividends. You don't know dividend. So if you are buying Japol, you are buying it because the price movement is going to go up. But what's the float? The float 1 year change 733%. Shares outstanding. That's 6 billion. 6 billion shares outstanding. It's not a lot of volume out here. If you're buying this stock, it's really scarcity. This is like Bitcoin. You're buying it because it's scarce, then the price will go up. But in terms of returns, the earnings per share is less than 1. It's 0.18 earnings per share. No dividend yields, right? Very, very volatile. Beta is 1.55. So this is not a stock you buy and you say you want to buy to put in your bottom box. This is a stock that you're buying that you think the price is going to go up and want to sell. Mining is gold, but I don't see any. Do you have any gold mines?
But investors have really made a lot from it. Like I already said, I even had it in my portfolio just to highlight it. And the reason why I had it in my portfolio then was that I just wanted to have something to track gold in the real market, and it did the job. So like you already said,
are they buying?
You can't compare. You can't wait with the NGX 30 stocks. Definitely, I won't put that amount of position, and I'll put in the NGX 30 on such stock. But definitely, it also had its own potential.
Do they mine gold? What is it? What did they actually do?
They mine. They have minefields. They into pressure trade. They first were like into trade.
Isn't this Japol? Isn't it the Japol of
now they acquired mines? They have percentage. I think the one I can't really remember the one in the southwest, but they acquired some recently full ownership and parts in some locations, and they really improved their margin. Their last result, I don't have it on my head, but their last result was quite better than the former. And I think the CEO has been able to rigorous the operational standard of that company, and that was why the stock has been rallying.
But Olumide, isn't this a company that was doing oil and gas before? Isn't this the one that is owned by the senator guy?
Yeah, energy.
Yeah. So it was a very
they switched. They switched.
Okay, they switched because it's still here as Maritime. So when I saw Japol Gold, I was like, but this is the same name. But they're on Bloomberg.
Exactly, they switched.
They're on Bloomberg. They have a ticker. It's still oil and maritime services, but they're doing gold now. Interesting. Okay, sand mining. Okay, so they're doing sand mining, quarrying, crushing, haulage. Okay, interesting. Dredging. Okay, so the guy that was asking about Japol. That's your answer. Call me Joe. I do have shares in Japol. Call me Joel. Yeah. Call me Joel.
No, I don't. Good evening, everyone.
Yeah, what's up, man?
I just wanted to ask a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Someone mentioned something earlier about that people might want to come, people in diaspora want to come back and invest in real estate. Something like that is going on in Ghana and all. And my question is that I have fears about this, and every investor will have fears about it, because how sustainable is this to the Nigerian economy? Because trust me, I don't know about people. I used to be the same believer. I put my money in Nigeria, nothing will happen. But with the way the recent trend of things have been going.
Okay, didn't you watch all those videos of those boys that were in the southeast with homes in the southeast? Didn't you watch all those videos during Christmas?
Sorry?
Didn't you watch all those videos of those homes in the southeast during Christmas? Didn't you watch those videos? Yeah.
I saw it.
I'm the one that was saying, I am telling you for a fact that the demographics in Nigeria is going to change. What you have in Nigeria, imagine to me, right? Do it this way. If nobody jackpot from Nigeria, but all the folks that jackpot got a job that was paying them the revenues that they were getting while they are in China, what do you think would have happened to land prices in Nigeria?
No, I understand that aspect. But what I'm trying to say is that I'm looking at the Nigeria I left 3 years ago, and how I saw some businesses that I was trying to manage, and how I was so having cold feet about this might work, and I'm trying to deal with government regulations coming to hit hard on me, because I had a friend here that I suggested to get a house, and something happened. Part of those houses that were demolished on the island.
But it doesn't matter, my brother. That's what I'm saying, Joe. We're all Nigerians. I'm a Nigerian, you're Nigerian. It doesn't matter. What the point I'm making is this: whatever we say, investments from Nigerians in the diaspora is still going to come to Nigeria. As a matter of fact, if there were no remittances or from the diaspora, Nigeria would have shut down a long time ago. It is the dollars from remittances from diaspora that's keeping Nigeria afloat, because people believe in it doesn't matter. See, I hear where you are going to. There are many stories. I can tell you many stories. People want to invest, they get frustrated, but that's not the fact of the matter. Is there's still going to be inflow from abroad here, and it's easier for diaspora to do it than the foreigners. Foreigners follow the diaspora. So when the Chinese start to invest back in China, the American companies follow them to China. When the Koreans start to invest from America to Korea, the American company follow them. TCMC, that company in Taiwan that is now the most important company in the entire world, they are from the Americas. The guy was in America and moved back to Taiwan. So I hear your story, but it doesn't change the fact that in a few years' time, the economic power of the jackpot will become a factor in Nigeria. You're going to have entire estates and products carved out for them. Let me give you a good business plan for someone listening today. So many old people live here in America that are Nigerian, so many of them, that they would want to come back to Nigeria and retire. Abroad, they are used to facilities. They have, they go to their doctor, Medicare, Medicaid, power, and all that. If you go to a town like Ado Ekiti, a small sleepy town, Ebonyi, a small sleepy town, and you build 10 bungalows, you hire nurses, you hire PE instructors, you build one nice pond, you hire all those people, and you advertise in the US old people's homes. Many of them will leave America and come and live in your bungalow in Nigeria, because you're going to give them a nurse in Nigeria that will take care of them 24/7. You're going to be cooking for them. You're going to be taking care of them. I just want to keep that. And they will pay, because they are used to it over there, and they want to live in Nigeria, and they don't have anyone that will take care of them in Nigeria. that's going to be a good a business plan that if you start today, you would get customers. Small sleepy town like in your village, if there's safety, that's volume. Go ahead.
Yeah, Kalu, you highlighted the positivity around that side. I understand his concerns, so I want to give you 2 reasons why I think we need to really look at concerns. First of all, the federal government's committee on tax reforms affirmed that just 10% of remittance that were expected came through official channels last year. We saw it coming because I recall that the CBN chief before Cardoso, he said that money was coming to Nigeria but was not going through official channels. Now, the money coming to Nigeria is not for investment, primarily for investment purpose. Now, if you look at real estate now, because there's one report I'm really looking at, Oxfam. Davos just finished their forum, so the Oxfam released about wealth. Now, if you look at wealth in Africa, it's on the low. Why? Because a high percentage of people have their wealth in the real estate market, unlike in America where most are in businesses and equities. So it tells you 3 things: that those that have wealth in the real estate market, are becoming poorer. And if you look at Dangote, for example, Dangote has 86% of his wealth in cement. Dangote cement, he has not even listed in refinery. BUA has 90% of his wealth in the NGX. Femi Otedola has over 95% of his wealth on the NGX. Tony Elumelu has high amount of his wealth on the NGX. So I've been able to look at the top 50 richest Nigerians. They don't even see the real estate. They only use the real estate as a vehicle for vehicle of wealth preservation at minimal levels. So I think we also need to look at the factor that this real estate as an investment vehicle for the middle class, is it an ideal ammunition to gauge against high inflation and devaluation? In my own perspective, I think it's not. And we don't have credit. You see, there's this it's plenty. Those guys that say it's plenty, that call properties at bogus valuations, has also complicated the market. So the market is precisely regulated like what you see. I listened to you and the guy from United States. You look at the way you guys were able to lay out investment opportunities in the real estate market. Nigeria is not a credit-based economy yet. Yes, things will definitely change, but right now, the big boys are not even fishing in the real estate market. So what future does a middle-class earner like me and the person asking the question have?
Well, they look at it this way, right? Any way you look at it, what are the Maslow's needs? Water, food, then shelter. So whatever you are, as long as you're human, you need shelter, right? So shelter, whether there's inflation or no inflation, you need shelter. So in a financial plan, shelter really takes away your expenses. So that means if I'm doing a financial plan for you, I'll ask you, do you have a home? What I'm trying to find out is how much are you paying for rent? In some states in Nigeria, rent is almost free. In my village, rent is free, right? If you go to some parts of the north, there's so much land and they build homes with like the caked mud. They build homes, they buy the zinc. You have a house. Rent is not a big factor there. In Lagos, in Aba, in Rivers, rent is a big factor. If you're going to retire to Lagos, your rent is your number one expense. So if you're doing a financial plan in that location, rent is going to be the number one thing you must take care of, to say, how can I pay my rent? Either I go buy it. That's why you see Lagosians go and buy a house in a swamp, because it costs less to live in that swamp than to rent in a built-up town. That's in Lagos. But outside Lagos, no, you can move to your village. The thing is this: real estate has to first of all cover or reduce your expenses first of all. Then you can then invest for others that need it. And there's always going to be a demand for it. We are building perhaps the wrong kind of homes in Nigeria. We're building 4 and 5 bedroom homes. People get older, they don't need 4 and 5 bedrooms. In America, people go to New York and work and retire to Florida condominiums. They build condominiums, 1-2 bedroom condominiums by the sea Florida has villages where only, when I mean villages, they call them villages like estates, where only rich people live in. Thousands of them live there. They ride around in golf carts. That's what's going to happen. If you go to Lagos, all these GRAs in Ikeja, big homes, they're all empty. The kids are abroad. When the kids come back, the kids won't live in their own place. So you have all these massive mansions that the father built for 6 children. The children have all grown up and have all gone away. There's a company I know, my friends in Abuja, they go and get 5-bedroom homes, the mansions. They convert them to 5-bedroom self-contained homes and they let it out. The difference between buying or renting the house at 5-bedroom and converting it to a 5-bedroom self-contained is their return. All over Abuja, all these banker boys can't live in a BQ. They don't have enough BQs for bankers. Maybe you're like a manager, not a manager, like a SBO. But you don't have a house in Abuja. You can't go live in Kubwa or Kubwe, so you want to live within town. They go for those mansions, get them, convert them. So you have a room, it's self-contained with your own bathroom and toilet and a central kitchen. You can live there. It's in Wuse or is in whatever. You live there. That's the sort of homes we should be building. And real estate Nigeria is because we're building the wrong homes. That's why the returns are down. If you build a 1-2 bedroom, it will be taken from you even before you start to put the block on the ground. It will have sold out completely and you can charge rental. How much is rent? If you build 1-2 bedroom and charge 1 million in Lagos, try it. Nobody will default. No one wants to leave that place. But what are they building today? 3-4 bedroom. 3-4 bedroom, right? So it can't sell. You've got to build to the market. Same in Aba, same in Jos. 1-2 bedroom. And I'm not giving you that out of the air. Nigerian Refinance Corporation, when they were launched, they asked people to send them requests for homes that they wanted to refinance, and so they wanted to gauge the demand for the types of homes. The largest demand was for 2-3 bedroom flats. That's the demand point in Nigeria, 2-3 bedroom flats. But every Nigerian today, whether the guy is a single bachelor or the guy is a retired civil servant, is building 4-5 bedroom duplex, duplex, not even townhome, self duplex. A bachelor building duplex, he doesn't need it. So if we build the right sort of homes, if we standardize the homes, you go to UK now, the homes are all the same. Why? Standardization. Go to Lowe's in America. The door handles, the roof panels, they sort of standardize them. They don't give you too much choice. Because the more it's standardized, the more you can bring tons and tons of it out. You can't go to Nigeria, you see a roof is L-shaped, another roof is Y-shaped, another roof is W-shaped. Why? Standardize these things, bring them out in millions and millions, the same doorknob, the same whatever window frame, then you buy and then you build affordable homes. We're too silo, and if you are silo, you can't have output. That's really where I'm going to. So, Joe, I'm sorry we lost your question a bit, but the part I was trying to get to was that whatever we say about Nigeria, because people have moved abroad, they are going to come back. If not them, their kids. So I'm saying get ready for that change in demographics. That's where I'm going to. It's going to happen. Whether Nigeria has kidnappers from here, and because look, Colombia has not changed. Colombia was a byword for kidnapping and all that. Has it not changed today? Nigeria will also change because eventually we will get sense by force. I'm just being honest. It's going to happen, whatever we say. So I don't want to downplay your point, but you don't want to have something to say before I move on?
It's fine. There's no problem. Like the other speaker mentioned, there are some key factors that affect coming to invest in Nigeria, but you've been able to shed light. There's no problem about it. I'm hopeful for the future and saying that hopefully things will change and we can have a rating and start bringing money back into the real estate sector.
Yeah, remember.
There's no problem.
We'll pray, we'll add prayer on top, Rabbi, as usual.
Yeah. As usual.
Mr. Zach Bakari, how you doing, sir? Send B. Zach Bakari, please go ahead, sir.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, sir.
Sorry, a quick one. I sort of have a question. It's on NGX. I just want to pick your brain about something I noticed a few days ago, right? So, $1 bought some units of Danksem, and that kind of, spiked the price up. And I was thinking, does that mean that they won't be listing Dangote Refinery? Is that an indication that they might want to bundle Danksem and Dangote Sugar under one holding, and instead of listing the refinery?
I don't think I hear where I hear where you're going to. I don't think so. I think they have to list refineries because they have to maybe get revenues that are equity based, which are cheaper to pay off their debt. So I think refinery listing is going to happen. It's too strategic to be held by just the NNPC and Dangote. He's owing a lot, so he needs to raise money via equity. So that's for the refinery. I think it's also in his interest to list it, so that it removes the sole owner perception again in Nigeria. I think that's what he has to do. For Dangote Cement, if you ask me, maybe he's going towards taking it private. Remember, Dangote Cement was an offer for sale. Offer for sale means that those shares already existed. Dangote sold 5%. Now he's buying them back. So I think he wants to take it private. This is me personally. I have not seen any paperwork. This is what I think personally. That he wants to maybe take it private, and then from there use the cash from there to finance his businesses going forward. Danksem and the rest, I don't think he has a big footprint in Danksem. I think Bua sort of is focusing more on that. But I think his two main things are the cement and the refineries. The refineries alone is a cash cow, which means it also drinks cash. So he has to fund that refineries with payments. Right now, he's paying interest and things not working. So he needs to pay off interest there to then start to make his own personal money from that cement. That's what I think. So I don't think they're going to merge anything and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. All right, cool. OIK.
Hey,
how you doing?
Mr. Carol Haja. Hi, I'm doing okay. Hi, Olumide. And good evening, everybody. Great job always. Now, my question is on the oil sector. I had a couple of other questions where you've answered most of them. I had a little bit on real estate, but I'm just thinking, what do we expect the outlook of the oil sector to be post Shell's what I call it demise, or when they leave, because the onshore oil, there's going to be a majority. So what's going on with that sector? Is there room for big time private players? I know NNPC, honestly, I don't know exactly what they're doing because they've not been posting profits. But can we just talk about that a little bit? Because oil again is is our big revenue.
Yeah, I think the Shell story is a secondary story to the main story, which the main story is that Nigeria has not been able to protect her pipelines. So the number one economic problem in Nigeria today is that we have pipelines in Nigeria that the Nigerian government has been unable to protect. This has led to the loss of forex revenues that would have flown to Nigeria, would have given Nigeria a boost in forex income to reduce her dollar borrowings, reduce her budget deficit, and even fight inflation. And it looks more like it's a targeted plan thing, not to defend those pipelines, because these pipelines are known. We know exactly they are not movable pipelines, which makes it easier to defend, but they haven't. So that's the main story. Shell is living onshore, which is where quote-unquote pipelines are, because they really can't defend them. Mr. Tunelumelu bought an oil lease or so. We heard him on the papers complaining about how he pump here and he gets nothing there. So you pump from the oil fields, nothing will come out at the other end. Why? Because they've broken into it. There are lots of Nigerian videos from the news media. Channels did an expose on the oil pipes that have been on a buoy for nearly 8 years or so. It's not hidden. These things are known. We know that oil is ships sail into Nigeria. When I mean ships, I don't mean small rickety ships. Oil-bearing tankers sail into Nigeria, plug their pipes on existing Nigerian government oil pipelines, take up crude oil and sail out. How do you know? The Navy will tell you they are chasing an oil tanker, as if oil tanker is down for their Navy ship will say they are chasing an oil tanker. It's in the news. We arrested an oil tanker with crude oil. We parked it in the naval dockyard, guarded by the Navy and the police. The ship disappeared. I'm not joking. The ship disappeared. This didn't happen once. So I personally have said, if you see a ship there that's not unauthorized, sink it. Just get the Navy Air Force to sink it, because we have to go extreme. So when you hear all these stories and you are Shell, and again in Netherlands, Shell had a court case that they lost that mandated Shell to reduce their carbon footprint. So Shell is under notice to reduce their carbon footprint. So if you know this and you are Shell, what would you do? You look for the areas where you think you can lose revenues without it really affecting your bottom line, like Nigeria. Why take the chance on onshore Nigeria when you can maybe go offshore Nigeria, still have your crude oil without the wahala? You've settled your court case, because Nigeria is not the sacrificial lamb for that court case in Netherlands that had to reduce their footprint. So because we haven't run our house well, we've become the sacrificial lamb. So more will happen. Many companies have already left. Nigeria now is no longer the quote-unquote bride. Lots of companies now have oil. Guyana is near the United States. They found tons and tons and tons of crude oil. Guyana is near Venezuela. The largest crude oil deposits on earth are in Venezuela. Guyana is just beside them. So the US can afford to ignore Nigeria and go to Guyana. So we're no longer this, we have oil. The problem going forward is no longer going to be crude oil, but where to sell it to. Russia is now discounting crude oil and selling to China. Where is the largest market for crude oil? China, Europe, and America. America already has their crude oil. China is getting crude oil from Russia. It's now displaced Saudi Arabia as largest exporter of crude oil to China. So that market is gone. India is Nigeria's only existing crude oil market in volume. And now India is buying Russian oil. They've just stopped now because the Russians refuse to accept Indian rupees to pay for crude oil. The threat for Nigeria is that if the United States or Saudi Arabia goes to India and offers them crude oil at a price that Nigeria cannot meet. Man, Nigeria doesn't have oil tankers. The way they sell oil is that you take your oil tanker, you put it near the Indian refinery. If they want to buy, you give them. Saudi has tankers. Iran has tankers. We don't have tankers in Nigeria. But our crude oil is very, very good. Low sulfur Brent crude. Very, very good. If India gets an oil supplier that will give it the price that they can afford to ignore Nigerian crude oil, then what does Nigeria do? What do we then do? Who do we sell the oil to? To Kenya? South Africa? Who do we sell the oil to? Saudi Arabia has gone to the United States and has bought refineries in the US and then bought retail outlets in the US. So they can take their crude oil from Saudi Arabia, refine it in America and sell it in America. This is Saudi Arabia. What's Nigeria invested in? Nothing. So that oil trade for Nigeria, long term, is not going to go anywhere. Not because oil is going to die, but because Nigeria can't compete. We haven't invested where we're supposed to have invested. We have no refinery. Forget in Nigeria, we have no refineries outside Nigeria. Nigeria today should have bought refineries in South Korea, in India, and all our markets. We should have done that. Dangote refinery, NNPC should have been building those refineries in our market so that we will take our crude oil to those countries, refine it, and sell. But we're still doing petrol smuggling to Cameroon and Benin. So long term, crude oil is going to die. What's the future for Nigeria? Gas. That's the future, and it's better for us because Nigeria is a gas country with small crude oil. So the future is gas. We've got to look for a way to get gas from Nigeria to Africa. Forget even Europe, to Africa. Do the same thing Russia has done. Build the pipes, take Nigerian gas from Nigeria here all across West Africa, make them pay you in dollars. It's not rocket science. You can do it, but if we keep on blowing up oil pipelines here, we keep on doing flaying gas, then we're not serious people. You need to have Nigerian gas supply all across Africa and then make them pay you in dollars. You solved your dollar problem. You solved your gas problem. You've solved your budget problem going forward. In short, when they pay you in Naira, if they pay you in Naira, then you can just print Naira as much as you want because they have to buy that Naira. The same way the US does. They print dollars and you must buy because you need to buy crude oil. But you know, we can talk from here till we're still worried about bandits. So I don't know what it is. These things are not rocket science, but you have got to sit down and say where the world is going to and then take a decision. But right now, Nigeria's problem today is that you cannot get on a car from FCT to Kaduna you can't even try it. And this is the country you want to build pipeline. So, OIK, sorry.
You know what? Yeah, Kalu, thank you for painting that bleak future. I would say that would be kind of the long-term kind of thing. Because even with all everybody's doing, in the West and all that, renewable sources of fuel, I don't see that taking over black oil, in the next 50, even more. Gas and all that stuff, yes. But again, there's a lot of expense to that. But again, we expect that research is continuing and they find ways of making things a lot cheaper. So my question was actually in the short term. Maybe you don't know, you're not part of government. So what is the government doing? Are they just sitting pretty? Okay, how is going to fill the void? I mean, I'm asking this question as a
Nothing will change. Nothing will change.
I used to be involved in Shell when we lived in Warri. My brother-in-law was working with Shell. They have massive operation. They had, besides the estates and other stuff. So when they leave, because even the smaller oil companies, most of them have left. I think ELF is, kind of linked up with was it Texaco? So. What is NNPC? How are they what are they doing?
Yeah, what I'm saying that nothing will really change in the short term. Shell is going, a local player is taking over.
Who is the local player?
I don't know yet. But the problem is that we are losing the international name. That local player will still go and pay Shell for technical advice because they're a local player, right? So we are still losing that. It's like saying Nike will go and then Abba Shoes will take over. I don't know how to explain it. We are still going to lose.
No, I get it.
Yeah. So short term, the oil output is going to just go through a bit of it. I mean, right now we're at 1.3. 2006 we were at 2.2. The same Nigeria, 2.2 million barrels a day. Right now we're at 1.3, 1.5. So the most important economic indices in Nigeria today is not just the price of Brent crude, but the output of Brent crude. That's why your dollar is falling. The Naira is a derivative of Brent crude. If you don't pump out Brent crude from the creeks of Nigeria, your Naira can never rise in value. End of story. All this looking for what's happening, that's what's happening. Your Brent crude output is low. If your Brent crude output is low, your Naira cannot rise. The only way Naira can rise is if you get remittances to replace exports with remittances. So if you get all those boys that have jackpot to send you money to Nigeria, you don't need oil. But how many boys abroad can send you money? Let me tell us that remittances are not coming in. Oil and gas is the number one source of revenues for Nigeria. Your cocoa doesn't bring any revenues. Soya beans, they don't bring any revenues. Then go online and Google it. The non-export earnings in Nigeria is a pittance. That's a problem. So we have to tell the truth and then ask those questions. What is the military in Nigeria doing that they cannot stop the theft of oil from the pipes and all that? When we had a space, if you guys can go back, we held a space on this crude oil theft. On that space, people were here arguing that it was impossible, that ships cannot come to Nigeria. There was a guy from a foreign press here saying it's not true. I don't know if you can remember. A guy from foreign press was here with some two guys from Shell. One guy was saying it's impossible. Isn't that what we saw in real life now happening? Ships will sail in here and steal the oil. What is the military doing? What is the government doing? That's the most important thing. If you can't stop sales, what are you doing?
I worked as a clinician at the Navy in Warri. I used to be with the Air Force in Lagos. When I moved to Warri, their operation, oh my God. They're supposed to be guarding all of these things. They go offshore and wherever and do all these things. The naval guys, not Air Force, right? They have big operation. All they do is make money. if you're posted to worry, know that you're going to be a millionaire then. As CEO, commanding officer, oh Lord, they're counting money every day. They're sending bags of money because people are bribing them. So it's a mess.
But we know these things now. So if we know that people are getting rich off corruption, what is the president doing? I saw the Nigerian. What is corruption now?
Patriotism.
Why are you calling president? It is stealing. What is patriotism?
Duty.
My dear, it is stealing.
Naval seamen, you're supposed to go out and catch all those people stealing our oil. But they don't. They settle them. Sometimes you hear weird stories where they would even drown naval officers, naval seamen. When the transaction does not work, they deal with them.
Okay, but I mean, we've put the story out there. That's if you didn't know, you want to ask your senator or your guy in government, and you say the guy on Twitter said the number one problem in Nigeria is the non-exports of Brent crude. What are you doing about? There's nothing else to talk about. That's number one problem. Number two problem is the bandits. Why? Not because they are bandits, but because they are stopping food output. So they are causing inflation. Those are the two economic problems in Nigeria. Exports of Brent crude and the bandits causing high food inflation. If you solve those two, you are on the pathway to doubling your GDP. It's not by moving this office to that place or by celebrating stock market returns. It is by focusing on the issues that matter and all that. Let me read this DM. Someone sent me a DM. It says, keep it private. Just to buttress your point, he's talking about when we're talking about the diaspora coming back to invest in Nigeria. He's saying, I'm in the UK now, less than 2 years. So he moved to the UK. Now he says he has economic power. He's been buying stocks. He bought 800,000 naira worth of stocks. That's not up to £1,000 last month. He has a portfolio worth 1.2 million. He wants to continue to buy. And he and a committee of friends are planning on pulling funds together to invest in agriculture. The point again I'm making is this. 5 years ago, so many young people could not afford £1 million naira if they lived in Nigeria. 5 years ago, those same Nigerians, these are young, bright Nigerians, have now moved outside Nigeria and they can afford that same 1 million. So they are investing that money back into Nigeria. We had our friend here from the US. He was the first guy that was speaking. I told him about yields in Nigeria. 15%. Even if he wants to invest, he's going to pause. He doesn't know Nigeria. He's going to do a lot of research before he invests in Nigeria. But a Nigerian would invest in a government bond that will pay him 15% for 30 years. A Nigerian will. Because he knows it's Nigeria, I know my way around. He knows. That's the point I'm making. The demographics of the investor in Nigeria will change. If you pull up the Nigerian Stock Exchange, they give you who is the investor. You see foreigners and local people. Before, the foreigners were ahead. The foreigners have all gone. The locals have taken over. That indices does not track the diaspora because the diaspora send their money home to their mom. Then their mom will give the money to their broker. Then the broker buys as if it's a local guy buying. We are not yet tracking the money that's coming from diaspora. We're not tracking this 100%. The country is going to be saved by these diaspora people. You are saying to the stock market, if Nigeria gets her act together and can create infrastructure bonds, these same people will buy because they know Nigeria. I'm not saying that it will happen. It's happening in every country because they know Nigeria. If you go to Abia State today, and you create an infrastructure bond, paying even 1%, people will buy, not because of the returns, but because they want to help where they are from. 1% social impact bonds, people will buy. If you do green bonds, people will buy, both for profit, both to help out. But you've got to give people a pathway to invest. All over my DM, how can I invest in this? How can I invest in that? These things are not rocket science. If you're a state governor, create an impact bond, right? And we're going to talk about impact bonds. So you know what I mean. An impact bond will allow foreigners, use your countrymen abroad, to invest in projects in your country, not for the returns. It's not going to pay you 20%. They invest in water projects, they invest in education projects from the monies abroad. But you have got to show competence that their money will not be stolen or used to go and buy champagne, if they see that if they invest $1, it will go towards the country, towards what is set for, they will invest. I know what I'm telling you. They don't invest because they don't trust the government. They rather invest in individuals than the government. That's what's going on in Nigeria. So you've got to have impact bonds that you can attract that sort of foreign direct investment, the foreign, not the welfare. Right now, remittances in Nigeria are welfare remittances. Your mother died, you send money. Your brother wants to buy a bus, you send money. You need to convert that welfare into investment flows. The money is still coming, but instead of money going to buy a bus for your brother, it's going to invest in a bond issued by a local government to build a waterworks. It's going to invest in a bond to build a school. It's not, you're not investing for coupons, for returns, or for inflation. You are investing in a bond, you're going to get a tax write-off in your home country. And number two, you are investing because you want to help your country. That's how they do it everywhere in the world. Impact bonds are big in India. Google it. Big in China. Big in Argentina. Big all over the world. So we have to copy what works and use it here. It can't be every month you go and borrow or you go and look for investors, in quotes, in America. You've got to have people that understand this, and then you sell this, and then you separate the government expenses totally from the revenues of the impact bond, and the money will come in. The demographics will change. Whether we like it, it doesn't matter, it will still change. Gated communities are coming for only the jackpot. It's going to happen. Ken, what's on your mind, man? Ken Uti.
Yeah, good evening, Carlo. Nice to be here again. A lot of things have been said. Most of the questions I wanted to ask, maybe things I wanted to say, they've been said already, so I won't waste so much time because we've been here for a long time. What I would like to ask you, which for me is a big issue in Nigeria, most especially our NGX, is this issue of insider trading. I mean, to be honest, I'm disgusted by all these headlines that I hear. Yes, most people say that do what the big boys are doing and all that. It just shows how unmature our market is. I will put it that way, because insider trading is a big issue in Nigeria. How many stocks do we even have in total on the NGX? We don't have so many stocks, and we just have a handful of them doing well.
Which one? Ken, go to the point. Which stock is the insider trading? Which one?
You know what? You know, an individual has been buying certain stocks recently.
But how is it insider trading now? How is it insider trading?
When the news break, you see what happens to the stock price immediately.
Ken, we've trashed this out too. There is nothing. Yeah, we've been here. I mean, we talked about the Dangote Cement and Otedola. We talked about it. There's nothing. Listen on this space, go back and pull this record on this audio. When we talked about investing in 2024, even the budget, we talked about cement. We said buy Dangote Cement. We talked about it. There is nothing. If you are a quote-unquote investor in Nigeria, you will always have Dangote Cement in your portfolio. What will be the insider trading there? That will they say, oh, Dangote, we go build road with cement, though. Don't tell anybody till we buy shares. No, people already know that. It's public knowledge. What is the insider there?
Okay, so how would you explain the case of Transcorp?
What happened to Transcorp? Tell me. Tell me what happened to Transcorp. What's the insider there?
With Otedola buying Transcorp, and then all of a sudden you saw what happened with it, and it later dumped, the price came down, and then it went up again.
Otedola himself said that he bought Transcorp because Tonelumelu bought the company he wanted to buy. So Otedola wanted to do a hostile takeover of Transcorp. Then Mr. Tonelumelu went and bought the shares. He bought more shares to lock in his position. That's why the share price went up, because people wanted to buy Transcorp. Otedola wasn't to buy Transcorp. Then Elumelu was buying Transcorp. Then Otedola left and said he's no longer trying to buy Transcorp. That's what happened. It was a hostile takeover that didn't happen. That's as much as I can remember. And Transcorp
how would you explain the one that happened in 2021?
Which one?
Access Bank.
Which one?
There was rumors of Access Bank buying up, I don't know whether it was Sterling Bank, I can't remember. And then all of a sudden, the price of Access Bank started pumping. No counter news from Access. no counter news from the NGX,
but the same thing
or
happens
from the Securities Commission.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, days after the price pumped, Access Bank came and said, "No, we are not buying this bank. It's a rumor." And then by that time, the price just went back.
Yeah, but how does it destroy the common man's portfolio? Because insider trading is really an offense because it distorts the market. So I get in before you, I lose money because you have knowledge that is not market driven. The point I'm making, you would have a point if a big man, in quote, went and bought a share of, say, Julie Pharmacy. Then 2 days later, Julie Pharmacy got a contract from NNPC worth 3 trillion. All these companies that are calling, with or without your insider trading allegation, they would have still gone up in price. That's the point I'm making, that it's difficult to say it is because of are you saying it's because of that thing that made Access Bank price go up? I don't think so. This is a top 10 stock already. So you have to show that this stock would not have gone up in price, but it went up because of this event that was not public information. That's what you have to show, Ken.
But no problem. You're an investment banker.
I'm not saying there is no insider trading, but I'm saying the market is not going up because of insider trading. I'm saying that the stocks that are going up in price are the same stock that went up in price years and years in the past. Or unless you are saying that Access Bank has not gone up in price in the last 3 years. That's what I'm hearing. So if they've been going up in price, it's like waking up tonight and saying that Tesla is going up in price. There must be insider trading. No, it's been going up in price. Right? All right, Ken, I got you. No worries. Let's get Celestine. Ken, Celestine, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Carlo. So I've heard a lot of what you say, but let me start from the remittances that you talked of. First of all, I really don't think people are going to be so much enthusiastic and remitting money or some funny investment. I will tell you why. When you're going to remit money into Nigeria for investment, you could be losing it in 2 ways. One, because of the devaluation of the currency. It's not stable and nobody really know what it's going to be like by tomorrow. If you see what is happening now, it's not like there is anything that is painting a picture of positivity in the near future. I'll give you an instance. Most of us did investment between 2019 till now. Now, look at it. Even if you made profit, a safe profit in Naira, let's say in 2019, and look at it, definitely you'll be losing your money. That's one. And two is that, in 2009, that same 2019, a friend of ours gathered more than 240 guys and ladies, young guys that he felt we are coming up, and introduced us to varying investments in Nigeria at the time, from agriculture to, I think, forest, and then that investment group, if I say collectively that we didn't lose more than 100 million, what was 100 million? Because I know that
Celestine, I hear you, Celestine. I hear you. I hear what you're saying. I hear you. But let me make a statement to you, and you can 1 year from today play my statement back. Whatever you say, the money is going to come from the diaspora to Nigeria. It's already happening. I'm not saying it will happen. I am saying it's already happening. The money does not come through official sources. June 2023, 56 billion came in via the crypto market. That's the volume as of June 2023. 56 billion dollars, not naira. 56 billion. The only reason why you are even having naira today at 1.4 or 1.3 and not 10,000 naira is because of the remittances from the guys abroad. So I'm not debating if remittances will come in or not. I'm saying it is coming in. What I'm saying is that more is now going to come in for the business side. So apart from it just coming in for the welfare side, more will come in for the business side, because irrespective of what we might say, Nigerians that are living abroad want to have assets in Nigeria. So they are going to start to invest more in Nigeria, in stocks, in property. When you do agriculture, doing a business, I would never advise you, if you live abroad, to invest in a business in Nigeria because you are not on ground. You can invest in an asset, a house, in securities, but to do business in Nigeria, you not being here, you need a manager. If you don't have a manager, then you're not going to be there. So I don't advise you, someone wants to do rice and say, I have a farm, invest in me. Rather, he can invest in in deposit instruments he creates, or invest in the equity of that farm. But if you give that guy money, you're investing in the business, and you're going to lose money or you're going to gain money. It's either ways, but you are investing in the person, not the farm. So let's not get, whether there's the devaluation from here till 10,000%, the money is still going to come in. When you say you've lost money only when you convert to dollar. What if the guy wants to keep money in Nigeria? Julius Berger is doing business in Nigeria in Naira and buying cashew nuts and exporting to get their dollars back. So there are many ways you can get your dollars back in Nigeria if you invest in Nigeria, I mean, without you converting back to Naira. Many ways. Your point is reality. My points are also reality. But I'm telling you, whether we agree today or not, the money is still going to come from the diaspora. It's still going to come. I'm not debating if it will come or not. I'm giving you data points. Go online. You will see the P2P. Check it. Look at the remittances from Nigeria. Nigeria is among the top 5 remittance countries in the whole world. 25 billion is what we can track, that we can track. We are already saying that money is not enough. We are saying we can do 100 billion remittances. We can. But because we don't have the structure, we can't capture that 100 billion. But the money will come, irrespective of what we say. It will come. People will lose money, but more money will come. It will happen. I'm sending money to my mom.
Absolutely. Everybody wants to. I'm in the US. Everybody, people I know, my relatives here, we all want to, if we don't already have, we want to have a property. Mainly even in any of the big cities. Or like you said earlier on, buy land and fence it. So money comes in regardless. Money's going in every day, every time. You know, again, no tracking, the usual Nigeria way of doing things. But money, of course. And it's even much more now because, again, you have the Japan syndrome. So Mr. Kalu is definitely right. And it's a practical thing. You see it.
And I want the company. I don't know why UAC Property, a company as big as, say, UAC, let me call it UAC Property. They have a name. So they go to Ado Ekiti, a town in the southwest. And they say they want to build 1-2 bedroom condominiums. 1-2 bedroom condominiums. They want to collect dollar that you pay for those condominiums in America or the UK. So they get their monies in America or the UK. You pay for the condos there. They will build here. So they get dollars over there. They build here in Nigeria. Who wouldn't buy? Because they will deliver. It's USC Properties. They will deliver. And there are so many companies here that can do it. I know a guy in Nigeria that is doing property in Nigeria, in Lagos. He has property by the Atlantic Ocean. Where did he get his money from? Where is he building? It's the same thing I'm talking about. When you invest, you chase. When they ask the guy, why do you rob a bank? Because that's where the money is. Where is the money in Nigeria today? It's in Canada, it's in the UK, it's in the US. It's held by Nigerians over there. If you can create a product that you are trustworthy, you know, every day people want to build home in Nigeria, they send to their uncle. Their uncle built a house in the village. If you can get a model that you can receive monies and you can deliver, that's what people are looking for. Nobody wants story. You can deliver. If they give you money, you won't have time. People will flood you with requests. I know many people. I want to invest in Nigeria. Give me a reliable stockbroker. Every day on my DM. I want to buy bonds. Who should I talk to? That's why I do these spaces, bro. Because there's a lot of demand for it. People want to put money aside. And a home is one thing. And I've given you an idea like this home care for the retiring Nigerians that want to come back home and live their life in Nigeria. They don't want to live in Lagos or Aba. They don't live in a city. They want to live in a town or in a village. But they want health care. They want a cook. They want someone that will take care of them. So if you hire a nurse in Nigeria, it's very cheap. You attach a nurse to someone. You build a 1-2 bedroom flat for the person in a village if it is safe. The people will come and live there and live their life out, the rest of their life there. They are 80 years old. What are they doing in America? They will come here and live, and they will pay you in dollar. Their social security in America will pay you. They will pay you to live here, and you take care of them. From a nurse here. That's what Ecuador is doing. That's what Ecuador is doing. Even Mexico, they are attracting the Americans that it's too expensive to live in America, but if you bring your dollars to Ecuador, it's a lot of money. $1,000 in Nigeria is $1 million naira. Just say $1 million naira. If you go to your village and you say you want to build a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom apartment and you want to finance it with 500,000 naira, you hire a cook, you hire a nurse, you hire a driver for that guy, and you keep 500,000. You think that's not good business for you? And there are so many people that want to have that sort of apartment back home in your village. You go and you pay the quote-unquote bad boys for security. So the bad boys will protect them from kidnapping. That's $1 million a month. $1 million a month they are going to pay you. 12 million a year per person. Per person. How much is food? How much is medical care in Ohafia? How much in Ado-Ekiti? This is what I'm telling you. You have to think about what's going to happen in the next 15 years. And if you start today, 15 years you'll be a publicly listed company offering home care in Nigeria. It's real estate, it's nurses, you get your licensing. That's what you want to do today. So if you follow them and say Nigeria is bad, you will miss out. This thing I'm telling you, 10 years time, you will see it happen. This is what I'm telling you today. All right, let's get Tunde.
Okay, quick question, Mr. K. Listen, when you mentioned that some people, maybe that is happening or it's going to happen in future, that they get this condos ready and you pay in dollar. So if you do pay in dollar, how does the money get to Nigeria? In that case, is either they're going to end up in tax havens. How is America going to, because America records everything.
Oh, okay.
How is that going to happen? Tax-wise?
If I go to my bank and I tell my banker that I have $1 million in America and I want a loan of 100 million, he won't give me. He will give me now. Okay, wait. This is see. He will give me I will borrow in Nigeria because I have dollars in America at a very, very low interest. Should I borrow in Nigeria and I build my house? I have dollar there. I'll sell dollars to a Nigerian bank. The point is that it's a revenue stream even for the company because the company has dollars offshore. He doesn't have to move it to Nigeria because the company in Nigeria, many companies in Nigeria would need that dollars to import goods. The bank will beg you to buy. Right now, banks can buy dollars from you, and right now banks can issue dollar denominated Nigerian instruments. Right now they want to work on Nigerian banks issuing dollar denominated instruments. So imagine if I was a developer and I said pay me in America, pay me in Canada, and I build up $50,000 Canadian dollars in Canada. I will sell to a Nigerian bank. Nigerian bank will sell it to importers from Canada. It's simple. It's simple. This is simple. I can do this in my sleep. An analyst that just entered investment banking can do this for you. They enter before lunch. All right, Tunde, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Carlo, and Olumide and others. I want to appreciate you very much for all that you are doing for us here in the country and for those outside. I don't think, just as you rightly tell us, a challenge for everyone, whether you are in Nigeria or out of Nigeria, to see that there is going to be need. Because here in Nigeria, where I am now, we have a lot of complaints. But you see, one thing I've noticed is that one should just leave that complaining group and go to where the action is. You have been following your space and then putting what you have been saying to practice. And honestly speaking, I can tell you, it's been yielding. Buying shares, putting money in forex. You see, I think we just need to understand what is going on. I think that's the challenge for everybody. Like to start those who are in diaspora. I have many friends who are in diaspora who are investing heavily in Nigeria. Prices of houses in Lagos are going to because people are coming from abroad and bringing in money. They on a daily basis. That one is a no-brainer. Even right now. And I think the challenge is for people to see beyond the problems that are there and see the opportunities that are there. Wherever there is a problem, there is an opportunity. When there is a challenge, there is a way out. From one of the time we only had look at what happened in the stock market. Just even within the first week of this year, everybody who is on the stock market will gain. You don't need to be the richest person in Nigeria. But many people are afraid. This, that. Then just like you rightly tell us, we should go through registered investment vehicles or banks or whatever. Most of the time we go through people who have duped, and because people have been duped, that's the challenge that people face. I've been duped, I don't want to be duped. That's it. But my people say you close your eyes so that you won't see a bad person passing. When a good person passes, you won't know. So I want to appreciate you guys for this space every Sunday, and honestly, I must confess, I've been blessed by it. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. I'm sending you my bill. Yeah. So Grandmaster Zero, go ahead, sir. We got about 20 minutes more, guys. Then we'll round up. Grandmaster Zero, hey, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, all right. Thank you so much, Mr. Carlo Aja. Thank you. I always look forward to this, space every Sunday. But most of the time, I just listening. Yeah, great. I would first of all, acknowledge your, expertise and also your wealth of knowledge, when it comes to these economic indices and factors and everything. But Mr. Carlo Aja, with all due respect, I see your pessimism, but it does not translate to reality. And I'll tell you why. First of all, you spoke about Shell. And Shell left Nigeria. You told us exactly the reason why they left Nigeria. It was directly, related to security, right? They couldn't protect the pipeline, and they left. I don't understand what investor will see, such circumstance and decide to actually invest, especially when you're talking about diaspora. So I came here to speak about diaspora. Secondly, you spoke about, investment confidence and everything. Our investment confidence currently is on the low. And if actually there was this massive investment, into the economy, like you have said, I don't think our exchange rate will be this abysmal. The only reason why it's still this abysmal is because the money is not coming in. So I don't even know what investment that you people are talking about. Thirdly, you spoke about, diasporans coming down to Nigeria to invest. But most of the time, you seem to be referring to, old diasporans. I don't think you understand the situation on the ground. The problem is this. Not only are your diasporans not willing to invest anymore, they are not even willing to come back. So the problem is, I'm talking about the young ones because I'm telling you this based on, samples that I have taken. I'm not speaking, speaking up of this as somebody who's, ignorant of the situation. I understand, right? Now, the young diasporans who are actually the ones capable of, making this money and sending it back home are not even interested in coming back. And you're speaking about building condominiums and, real estate. The problem is, how are they going to build real estate when they are not interested in coming back to, actually, utilize whatever investment they are actually putting in the economy? Thirdly, I don't think it's actually possible for somebody to observe what is currently going on with the multinationals that are currently leaving the country. We saw GlaxoSmithKline leaving, we saw Shell leaving, and for some weird reason, we think that some people are going to be dumb enough to come and invest. And there's something else you're missing. Abroad, a lot of us who are abroad have come to realize something, especially when it comes to investment in real estate. People are investing now more in the countries they are living in than they are in Nigeria. First of all, because the ROI on those things are very high. And also the security of the investment is actually very high. Matter of fact, I will tell you that just last year alone, I know about two families that invested in more than 3 houses they are renting out abroad. Young people, especially students, who could actually afford it, are buying apartments, condominiums, right? I personally have 2 condominiums to my name. So I don't even know, how I can say that, you are okay. I see the optimism, but it doesn't translate to reality because we can say all these things when the security is not improved, when the naira is continuously falling, right? And when the investment confidence index is not high as expected. I don't know how exactly we can expect that diasporans will see all these things and simply just, do a blind job into the economy and invest in something they are not even guaranteed the ROI. So I don't know how you see this thing, but to me, it doesn't really translate to reality, honestly speaking. But I understand the optimism, right? We are Nigerians, but it's not real. It's not real. I'm sorry.
I got you. So again, remember, I don't deal in optimism. I'm a facts guy. I'm a facts guy. I'm a numbers guy. And this is what I do. This is my play. My background, I've done private banking, asset management, investment management, worked with the PFA. I understand how money flows. I know where it's going to Nigeria. I worked in the US. I am plugged into the US and Nigeria. I'm not giving you optimism. I'm not giving you motivational speech. I'm not saying because you're Nigerian, come and invest in Nigeria. That's not what I'm doing. I'm telling you what's happening. 10 Nigerians leave Nigeria. 8 might decide not to invest. The 2 that decide to invest is major. That's the point I'm telling you. That if you took the Nigerian demographics, you have, let's say you have 50,000 young people in Nigeria in 1999. They lived in Nigeria. They could not afford 1 million naira to invest. 50,000 young Nigerians, they could not invest 1 million naira in the stock market, in the real estate space. They couldn't invest. Those same guys have simply moved from Nigeria to Canada. Out of that 50,000, let's assume, like you're saying, 49,000 decide never to come back to Nigeria. So out of 50, 49,000 decide to never come back to Nigeria. The 1,000 that are coming back to Nigeria, if they simply convert 1,000 Canadian dollars to invest in Nigeria for every month, do you know how much that is? That's $1 million in naira invested back into Nigeria, multiplied by 10. That's 10 million per month. This is an example I'm giving you. Those are the guys that are moving the stock market. I see your hand up. Let me speak. Moving the stock market, moving the property market, the 10%. You can never in statistics say that 100% will go left or 100% will go right. The point I'm making to you is this. That small miniature number that is now investing back home are bringing in substantial capital flows because the exchange rate differential makes $1 massive back home in Nigeria. Now let's talk about your point about investing in the US. Right now in the US, you folks are enjoying, because in America today, if I invest in a bank, I can get 4 to 5% risk-free, FDIC insured, risk-free. That's an abnormality. The real rate in America for you, because you have no risk, you should not get 4 to 5%. You should get 0 to 1%. From 2007, when Obama became president, till the third year of Trump administration, what were interest rates? It was less than 1% in America. So right now, it's easy for Americans and a diaspora to say, I'm not going to invest in Nigeria because I'm getting 4-5% in America. What happens when interest rates in America go back to 1 and 2%? Then you'll be forced to invest abroad. Warren Buffett is investing in Japan. He's investing outside the US. It's only a matter of time before the world will find out that there's a yield opportunity in Africa, and they will come. They won't wait for you. I am not telling you that money will come. I am telling you that money is already coming to Nigeria from the diaspora. All we are debating here is how much more will that flow rise to, Grandman. We're not debating that if that money will come. Pull up, not my words. Go and pull up diaspora flows in the world. Nigeria is top 5 there. We're the lowest of the 5, but we're the highest per volume in Africa. Look at the crypto remittances. June 2023, 56 billion in United States dollars. We are 200 million people. We have the largest number of diasporas in any country from Africa. Highest number. This has got to count. You can't simply say because we have 5 bad years or 10 bad years, remittances will stop. Even under the military, when we had military in Nigeria, there were still remittances. It was just clumsy. People will give you dollars, you bring from Nigeria. People were still doing remittances. Even Otokoto, we had remittances to Owerri. Nothing will stop remittances. The flow is what will reduce. The scope will reduce. But nothing will stop the flow. That's what I'm telling you, sir. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Thank you so much, Carlo. Like I said, I still think that what you're saying is still based on optimism. It's not based on reality. It's still not realistic.
I just gave you figures. I just gave you figures. Not figures.
Great.
Not my figures.
It's still based on predictions.
What's prediction?
I still hear will.
Actual 56 billion. June 2023 crypto 56 billion. Pull up remittance from Nigeria, 25 billion per annum. Remittance, right. This is social
can I just
remittances.
Tell you this, Carlo, if I may, just very quickly, because I don't want to overstretch this, right? I'm happy you said crypto. Now, let me just, because I think that, I don't know if you are seeing this from the perspective of the average person living abroad. Now, let me tell you something, Carlo. Matter of fact, you understand, I don't want to say her name, but my sister works for the Bundesbank in Germany, right? Now, she told me, you understand, that most of the remittance going to Nigeria, you understand, are sent under the description of welfare and family caretaking. Now, when you look at the average remittance coming from abroad, right, it hovers between $1,000 and $100. Now, why do I say this? You made the analogy of the 50,000 people and then 49,000 not remitting anything. You are doing this under the premise that the 1,000 people that are going to remit something are remitting a huge sum of money. Now,
I said $1,000. I said $1,000.
If you understand how remittance works currently, if you have been following the trend, you understand that there are some restrictions and compliance placed on Nigeria.
What restrictions? What restrictions? I've worked in America, I've worked in Nigeria. Give me the restriction. Which restriction? Quote the restriction. Tell me the restriction.
I'm about to tell you. Just a moment. I'm about to tell you. I'm not speaking as an economist, I'm speaking as a realist here, right? Now, the restriction is this. Anybody who's in the diaspora today will tell you, when you go out there to remit money, there is the limit to what you can remit in a certain amount of period, right? Okay, let's say if I want to go out now and I want to really send money to Nigeria and I want to maybe use for building or something, I am not allowed to send a maximum of $2,000 at any given time. In a month, I'm restricted to $4,000.
That's not a new restriction, and it's been there forever. And listen, we're talking about $1,000. Sir, I am giving you reality of what I do. I invest money in Nigeria for the diaspora, both ways. I am telling you what I do for a living. This is what I do. I am telling you, there is no new restriction. If anything, it's even easier to transfer money because you have lots of ways to transfer. You have P2P. It didn't exist 4 or 5 years ago. You have money transfer. We had a guy here on the space that is opening up bank accounts for Nigerians in the US. Clever. They were here on this space. Clever. So if you work in Nigeria and you have the gig economy in America, you can open an account with Clever and you get paid in America and they'll give you Naira here. This thing didn't exist 3 years ago. The volume has gone up. What you are seeing in Nigeria is a volume increase. I've given you quoted you figures.
But if the volume is going up, why is the exchange rate still abysmal?
Because it's not going to the Central Bank of Nigeria. The P2P is not going to the Central Bank of Nigeria. That's why the Central Bank of Nigeria has now allowed crypto as an official. They're not allowed banks open crypto accounts. Buhari shut off cryptos. So it didn't go to the Central Bank of Nigeria. That's why your dollar is falling. I've made the point here, sir. Crude oil is the number one source of dollars. If there's no crude oil, then it's remittances and FPI. But in the past, the banks in Nigeria could not do crypto or in Nigeria. They couldn't. Now they are allowed to. In the past, Nigerian banks could not issue dollar-based instruments. Now they can. So you will see these reforms will start to take slowly to hit that. Money will move from the crypto side. That's the intent. To move money from the crypto side to the banking side, the official side. That's where they want to go to. The exchange rate has to do with the official flows, not the unofficial flows. That's why your dollar is languishing, your naira is languishing. You can't say, without the remittances, dollar will be 10,000 to 1. Don't say, why is it 112? Without it, it will be 10,000 to 1.
Sorry to cut you there. So how does, it behooves our country now to figure a way of trying to track this.
Track what?
They don't put their measures in order because again, you have a lot of people, like you said, who you give dollars here in the US, some in Nigeria, some in Canada. School fees and all that stuff. They help people from Nigeria. They help us from here. They help us with transmitting money to Nigeria to get pound and naira. Moreover, too, there are a lot of people. Sometimes my sister is traveling. I give her money, $1,000. Do this, and vice versa. people also travel, So again, why don't they put in measures so that they can have this thing? It cannot be watertight, I know.
Well, I don't know. I'm not sure what you're saying. If you try to,
because in the US, for instance,
if you try to restrict dollars, it will disappear. If you allow it unrestricted, it will increase.
So that they can track it.
Why should you want to listen? I just explained to you. If you go to Nigerians today, to any demographic, and you say want to record what you do, and I'm the government, that thing will disappear. No, not just Nigerians, Americans. Anywhere you go to, and you say want to track where your money is going to disappear. What Nigeria should have done was to do what they're doing now. Remove capital controls, float the Naira, allow the Naira come in and track it if it's for terrorism or money laundering. Stop there. If you try to say want to tax, want to do this or do that, the money will go back to where do you think P2P is performing? You can go on your phone today in America and buy dollars from anybody in the world. It's not regulated. The currency markets in the world are $1 trillion, about $700 a day. It's not regulated. But the American government will tell you when you make a profit, you must say the profit you made, and they want to make sure you are not doing terrorism or money laundering. That's it. If you try to track money and you say Nigerians register, Nigerians, nobody will come. That's why nobody goes to CBN, because it's too much English. That's what I'm telling you. Now the government is doing the right thing to say we'll focus on money laundering and terrorism. And if you do that, then more Naira will flow in. Because now Nigerians know it is easier. Do you know how many laws and guidelines they brought in Nigerian forex market? You can transfer, you can't withdraw. You can withdraw, you can't transfer only if you transfer through withdrawal. Just so many confusing laws. People don't need that. If there's an option as a Nigerian today, there are many ways I can get money from America to Lagos without the banks or the government. And the government realized that too late. They thought they were the only game in town. When they realized that they were not the only game in town, they've changed the laws. You can't close your eyes and say the sun has disappeared. So you must work with reality. Going back to the point of getting the Grammy, I'm not a government spokesman. I'm not telling you that things are rosy. I was in a space yesterday and they were asking me how much to hire private security. Where is Nigeria safe? They were asking those questions. That's the reality on ground. Bandits are operating in between the capital of Nigeria and Kaduna. That's the reality on ground. It's unsafe to travel on roads in Nigeria. That's reality. The point I'm making to you is this. In that same reality, the investment flows will not stop. It will keep on going up. And I'm telling you why it's keep on going up. Because the demographics have changed. You have a lot of Nigerians now living abroad, and those Nigerians are going to invest in Nigeria, whether we like it or not. They would invest. It happens for every demographic. When the Nigerians started going abroad, compared to dollars in Nigeria, 1970, nobody had dollars in Nigeria. We didn't need dollars in Nigeria in 1970. We didn't need it because nobody was abroad. Now, as more Nigerians have gone abroad, dollars have started to come in, and our tastes have changed. When the Nigerians started eating bread in Nigeria, when was bread a staple in Nigeria? Wheat is imported. Jimmy Carter came here and we said to eat wheat. It's imported. Now we are locked. We now think bread and beans is a local staple. Wheat is imported. So as long as you have Nigerians living over there, we will need dollars because we are going back and forth with the trade. That's what I'm saying. Grand, last time, then we'll move on. Well, I think it's
the last question actually. Thank you so much, Carl.
Okay, you've answered that. Okay.
Just a very quick one. I share your optimism. You said something.
I am not optimistic. I'm giving you data. I'm just giving you data. Don't say I'm being optimistic or pessimistic. It's just data.
I share in your data. Sorry, Carlo, I just followed you, and I think I enjoy your spaces. I can't even believe. I don't even believe. I can't believe I have been following you, but. The reason why I want to ask one last question. The reason why I want to ask this, and that's one of the reasons why I followed you. When you were speaking, you said, in about a year, we should come back here, right? And I'm following you now because I think we should be back here in a year. And I want to see everything that you just projected tonight.
What did I just say? I said that remittances will go up, right? Call back in a year. Call back in a year. Let's see if Reuters went up now. Call back.
Yeah, that's what you said. Okay, I'm following you just so I can keep time with you for that, right? But just on a lighter note, but I really enjoy your space. Thank you so much for the time.
Appreciate you guys. So guys, I gotta shut down the recording. I'll still be on the speech just to answer a question, but I'm gonna shut down the recording. So guys, we've talked this week personal finance. We talked about bringing those questions in open forum. You guys have done far and beyond. So thank you again for listening. If you don't believe it enough with me here for close to 3 hours, just talking about Nigeria, investing, and I think we have all learned one or two things. You have the week ahead of you. Go out and make the best of it as you will. Stay invested. Keep it simple. Keep it very, very simple, and make that money. Of course, get my book. Let's Talk About Your Money. It's available on Amazon and Robin Heights. I'd love for you to get it. Lots of the questions you ask me are all in that book, and I think it will bless you if you get it. If you don't get it for your friend. It's a very, very good book. Let me plug that in there. On that note, guys, I'm going to shut down the recording. I'll stay and answer a few questions, but thank you guys so much for listening. I'll see you guys next week. I'm bringing a stockbroker as well, talk about the Nigerian market. So please join us and you will learn a lot as well.